Okay, and good evening, Democrats.
Good evening, Democrats.
Okay. How about on Zoom? Everybody unmute for a moment. Let's try it again. Good evening, Democrats.
Good evening, Democrats.
Okay, thank you all for being here, in here, out there. Happy Pride! Whether it's your first Santa Monica Democratic Club meeting or your 101st, your presence here matters. In this moment of fear, instability, and the rise of authoritarianism, showing up for each other and for our shared values is an act of resistance. This month, we witnessed ICE raids sweeping across Southern California, tearing families apart, targeting residents, workers, and even children. Entire neighborhoods have been left reeling, consumed by fear and confusion. And so I want to say to all of our immigrant neighbors here tonight or watching from home, we see you, we love you, and we will do everything in our power to keep you safe. You are essential to the fabric of this community. Some of our own club members stood courageously outside Home Depot this week, bearing witness, filming video, and confronting these fraudulent agents by demanding identification. Then Trump escalated further, deploying the National Guard and even U.S. Marines in the streets of Los Angeles. SEIU President David Huerta was detained. The goal was clear: provoke violence, create a false narrative of lawlessness, and justify more repression. But our side refused to take the bait. Hopefully, we all saw the courageous actions of Senator Alex Padilla. Handcuffed and detained by federal agents simply for asking a question of Kristi Noem. Thank you, Senator Padilla, for showing a backbone, for standing up to this fascist regime when it counted. This is the exact leadership we need right now. Padilla, not Schumer, is the model. And then came Sunday night. Trump ordered strikes on 3 sites in Iran without a vote of Congress, a clear and deliberate violation of the Constitution. It was not only illegal, it was reckless, a horrifying policy decision with consequences we can't even begin to comprehend. This is fascism. This is what it looks like. But this meeting is also what democracy looks like. Just last week, thousands of us took to the streets of Santa Monica for the No Kings rally. I've been saying it since January on this podium. There are no kings in America. We, the people, are sovereign. So thank you to those who took my phrase, no kings. A bold, peaceful stand against tyranny. We demanded justice. We demanded democracy. We demanded the end of this fascist regime. No Kings showed us what's possible. It reminded us that when we organize, when we build a powerful coalition that bridges communities around a shared goal, it means we get to define the moment. Instead of MAGA, we lead. We can claim to shape what's next. We don't have to accept these orders from above. We don't have to fold, to shrink, or to stay silent. We can fight back, we can build power, we can build the future. And that's what brings us to tonight. We have a full agenda ahead of us here, and I promise we'll keep things moving. We're going to be joined by 2 candidates running for state senate. They're here now, Brittany McKinley and Ellen Evans, running for Ben Allen's seat. You may remember we already heard from Cheyenne Roy a few months ago, and next month, mark your calendars for July 30th, we'll host 2 more Senate candidates, Mike Newhouse and John Erickson, and it all leads up to our SD24 candidate debate on September 10th. That's an announcement of the date, September 10th, right here on this stage. We're going to have all the candidates lined up here at the Church in Ocean Park and on Zoom. 1 week later, September 17th, on Zoom only, we will hold our formal endorsement vote for that race. But before any of that, we have something a little festive. Next week, on the morning of July 4th, next Friday, the club will once again be marching in the Santa Monica 4th of July parade. We've done it for the past several years. It's always a joyful and high-energy way to reclaim the flag and show that true patriotism means fighting for democracy, equality, and justice. And while this autocratic president and the Republican Party wrap itself in symbols it no longer respects, the Democrats will be out there proving that we believe in what America is supposed to stand for. So far, we've confirmed that Mayor Pro Tem Terosas, Council Members Hall, Raskin, Snell, and Zernitskaya have all accepted our invitation to march with us as a club this year. And we want all of you there too. Everyone who's a member of the club, everyone who's a friend of the club is welcome to march with us down Main Street. It's a great opportunity for families. Bring your bike, your stroller. My 2-year-old will be there for his 3rd year in a row marching with the club. If you'd like to join, email smdemocrats@gmail.com. Respond to the email blast that you get. We'll send you all the details. We're going to meet up at the staging area at Main and Olympic on the morning of the 4th, and then we'll march as a group down Main Street. It's going to be great. But tonight's main event hits closer to home, the future of the Santa Monica Airport land, one of the most consequential land use decisions in our city's history. Our ad hoc airport committee has been working for months to study what's possible once the airport closes in 2028. Last week, they voted on a recommendation. Tonight, you'll hear what they came up with. But the decision does not end with the committee. You, the club membership, get the final say. So we'll consider our options, have a thoughtful discussion, and take a vote or two. And with any luck, we'll come to some consensus as a club endorsement for the site. So let's get started. Let's stay focused. Let's stay bold. Let's keep fighting and keep showing the country what Santa Monica is made of. And as we dive in, one quick reminder, we're all here because we care deeply, so let's honor that shared passion by respecting our speakers, raising hands to be recognized, and helping this remain a space for civil, constructive community. Now, speaking of what Santa Monica is made of, I want to introduce our Vice President of Programs, Michelle Grant. If you don't know Michelle yet, you will soon. She's been doing phenomenal work on behalf of the club this year, including playing a key leadership role in organizing our No King Santa Monica rally, which brought thousands of people into the streets for a peaceful, powerful stand against fascism. Michelle.
Thanks, John. Okay, so I wanted to ask, and no shade if you didn't make it, who here went to any of the No Kings rallies? Look at that, that's amazing. And all those folks on Zoom, wow. We had over 2,000 registered participants and likely more than twice that according to estimates for Santa Monica. The creators of the national event believe over 5 million people showed up, but others think that number is very much higher. So quick story, last week I was at a new orthopedist and she asked me what I was doing this weekend, and I told her I was still recovering from being one of the organizers of No King Santa Monica. She let me know she attended the one in Santa Monica, and her office is Mid-Wilshire, and she said it brought her such hope to see the turnout. And she told me how she talked to a senior gentleman at the protest, and he told her the last time he was at a protest was for Vietnam. People are energized. I want you to know that your presence, it makes a difference. So we all want to thank you for attending No Kings. Now, as the new programming VP, I want to make you aware of some upcoming events. John already mentioned on 4th of July, the club will be marching in the annual Santa Monica Parade down Main Street. Everyone is welcome to join us. Just let us know by sending us an email. Also, in August, We will be having our diversity and inclusion picnic. We will announce a date soon, but that is in lieu of having an August meeting. So July 30th, we have a meeting, and then September 10th. In August, it will be the picnic, and we hope to see you all there and get to talk as a community and get to know each other. In October, we're going to host a magic show fundraiser, and in the beginning of 2026 will be the Sammy Awards. And then, of course, in December, as every year, is the annual holiday party and toy drive. If you're interested in being part of the programming committee, please reach out to me. I'd love to get to know you, and I need the help. Thank you all. Have a great meeting.
Okay. So next up, before we get to our first guest, we have a quick bylaws amendment, which should not be too controversial. I'm going to bring it up on the screen right now. Hope it's the right one. Okay, good. Okay, so this is the situation with this. The California Democratic Party is the Democratic entity that administers the endorsements for state legislators. When there's an open seat, as there is now for the Senate, there's a pre-endorsement caucus held, which includes Democratic clubs. That is the way that the Democratic club gets to have an influence on who the state party endorses. If there's no endorsement at the pre-endorsement caucus, then it goes to the state party convention, which will be next March, and that will be just delegates. So it's more top-down, a little bit. I mean, I'm a delegate, but it's a little bit more top-down. It doesn't involve the grassroots of the club. So that's why the pre-endorsement is a really important part of the endorsement process. Clubs get a say. They get one vote at the pre-endorsement for every 20 members in the district that are in the club. So the state party reached out to all the clubs in the state and said, we need you to revise your bylaws to make sure that you're very clear about the process of the pre-endorsement. It basically says what defines a member in good standing for the purposes of this pre-endorsement caucus, and it clarifies the dates by which we have to send the information. It's new language. It's not replacing any previous text. You can see it just says this is how we're going to allocate this part. This is how we're going to allocate the representation. We have to send it to the state party. This part describes what a member in good standing is, and that the leadership of the club has to certify that members are in good standing. And at the very bottom, it also adds a new part that says that if the club has endorsed in the race, then when we send representation to the pre-endorsement caucus, those representatives would be bound by the club endorsement, which obviously that's the whole point of the club endorsing. So with that said, are there any questions? If not, is there a motion? Okay, Michelle moves. And seconded by Chris. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Aye. Okay, all opposed? Any abstains? Okay, so by a unanimous vote, the bylaws are adopted. Okay, let's move on. Okay. Quick announcement, and Mike, if you wanted to say a word at this point, this is that part. Before we start, and Brittany, we're coming to you in just a moment, okay? If you plan to vote in tonight's decision regarding the airport, you have to be a member in good standing for 30 days, and you also must have RSVP'd for this meeting using the Google form that we sent out. If you did not fill that form out, you won't get a ballot. If you have any questions about your eligibility, what you can expect to receive a ballot, our membership VP is Mike Soloff. He'll help you out. And now I'm sure he has a few words to...
Thanks, John. So, first of all, it's been wonderful. We've had a massive influx of new members into the club. There's a huge audience here. There's a huge audience online. And hundreds of people have signed up to vote tonight. And I'm telling you that, so I hope you'll have some grace for those of us who've been working very hard to validate everybody's right to vote, etc. We're only human. There could be mistakes, and if there are some, we'll do our absolute best to correct it. The tradition in this club is we work very hard to make sure everybody who's entitled to vote gets to vote. So the first thing you must have done if you want to vote tonight is you have to have electronically RSVP to the meeting. If you did not do that, you will not get a ballot. If you think you didn't do that, but you're a member and entitled to vote, please go now and sign up, and that will trigger it back in the back of the room, and I'll be able to check your status to vote. The second thing is, there are two ways you can be eligible to vote. One is if you're somebody who just joined this year, or maybe had been a member a long time ago, but just joined again this year, you have to have paid your dues no later than May 26th of 2025. If you paid after that, you're not eligible to vote tonight because the bylaws require 30 days. Second thing is, if you were somebody who was a member last year, then you can renew at any time up to the time of the vote. If you were a member last year and you haven't paid your dues, if you pay them right now, we'll see that in the back of the room and we'll make sure you get to vote tonight. Okay. So that's the way you'll know for sure whether you're going to vote is when the time comes. After there's a motion to be voted upon, we'll get it finalized in Election Buddy. We'll go out. It takes a little while to get to everybody's email. If you haven't received a ballot at that point and you think that you're entitled to one, that's the time to come see me in the back of the room. Or if you're online, John, it's what, membership at SantaMonicaDemocrats.com?
Membership at smdems.com.
Okay. So at the time we actually vote, if you do not receive a ballot and you think that you're entitled to, that's the time to come see me in the back of the room. Or if you're online, to mail to membership at smdems.com. So thank you, everybody. It's always, when we do these votes, there's always some number of people who we have to straighten out, and trust me, we'll work with it, but please be patient with us. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Let's also thank Sean Kaloji and Marcy Lebovitz in the back who are going to be doing that work later on. Okay. Now, let's turn to the open Senate seat. Our current senator and former Democratic Club board member, Ben Allen, is terming out. As I mentioned earlier, tonight we'll hear from two candidates seeking to represent Santa Monica and Sacramento. Our first guest is a civil rights attorney and president of the Los Angeles Human Relations Commission with a strong track record of fighting for social justice, from supporting asylum seekers to advocating for formerly incarcerated women. She's running to bring her experience and vision to address the diverse needs of our communities. Please join me in welcoming Brittany McKinley. Yeah, and you can take the mic off, whatever, however you wanted to do it. You can stand, you can sit.
I think I'm going to stand up.
Here, but I should turn this on. Okay.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I am so excited to be here with you all. I love engaging with Democratic clubs. I'm a young Democrat myself. I'm a former board member of the Black Los Angeles Young Democrats. I'm also a Democratic delegate under Assembly District 66. So I just love coming to engage with Democratic clubs, especially ones that are so active and passionate as you all are here. So thank you so much for having me. Thank you for welcoming me. Thank you, John. I thoroughly enjoyed our lunch together, and I'm so glad that I'm here doing this with you all. So my name is Brittany McKinley. I am running for State Senate District 24. I was born in Hollywood. I went to undergrad just outside the district at Loyola Marymount University, and I'm now living in Marina del Rey. My grandfather was the first Black deputy director of the Community Redevelopment Agency, and he made his way over from a sharecropping plantation outside of New Orleans Palestinians to Los Angeles, took on that role where he worked in affordable housing and worked on revitalizing underrepresented communities, particularly Watts after the uprising in '65. And it was out of that uprising that the Human Relations Commission was birthed, the commission that I am now president of under LA Civil Rights. And my role on that commission is really to lead the charge against hate crimes, to lead the charge against anti-Semitism, and when anybody is being discriminated against for any sort of protected class, and certainly for the discolor of their skin or their immigration status, as we've seen in recent weeks, that's where we step in. And I know that we're all tired. I know that we are all fatigued and outraged at what's been going on, particularly with the ICE raids. I'm wearing my pin in solidarity today with the immigrant communities of Los Angeles. And I've been working tirelessly at the Human Relations Commission over these past few weeks. I stood up as president of the Human Relations Commission at the press conference when these raids happened, when Senator Alex Padilla was arrested so wrongfully. I still cannot believe that happened, and that we're living in a time where a sitting senator can be arrested for asking a question against a government that is committing such atrocities. So I stood up as president of the Human Relations Commission, and I stood next to our community-based organizations calling for the end of ICE raids and calling for the support that I know our Latino communities who are afraid to leave the house right now, that they need to make sure that they're getting food, medical supplies, to make sure that our children are protected and listened to. So this is the work that I champion as president of the Human Relations Commission. And when I'm not doing that, I'm an attorney. I'm actually a business attorney. I help businesses grow, but I also have a vast pro bono experience in representing immigrants seeking asylum, those who have been wrongfully denied their Social Security benefits. I've represented domestic violence survivors and women who have experienced domestic violence in family court. I come from a family of service, and I'm running because at this moment, particularly at this moment in time, I have been in the trenches at LA Civil Rights, fighting against Trump, protecting our LGBTQIA communities, protecting our immigrant communities. With what's recently happened with Iran, I'm deeply concerned about a rise in hate crimes, a rise in anti-Semitism. We're already leading the charge into how we can combat these horrific narratives surrounding what recently occurred. This is who I am. This is what I stand for. This is why I'm running. I've been in the trenches doing it for community through LA Civil Rights, whether that's fighting against racism and anti-Semitism there and hate there, or through my work as an attorney. And it's something that I will continue, or that I hope to continue to do as your state senator.
So you talked a little bit about your background. When you think about this race coming up, what do you see as the top issues facing the 24th district?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's standing up to Trump. Secondly, it's housing and affordability. That issue is very top for me. We are losing a lot of great people to other states because they simply cannot afford to live here. I think about all of our hospitality workers. As I said, I live in Marina Del Rey, right by Cedars-Sinai Hospital. I go to get my coffee. I talk with a lot of the nurses there, and they're driving over an hour to get to work. That's not good for the environment. That's not good for our patients. That's not good for our workers. We need to make sure that people who work in the district can afford to live in the district. So housing and affordability is huge for me. Thirdly, the environment, and fourth, healthcare would be the top four issues that I think we need to address here in Senate District 24.
Perfect. So let's jump into some of those exact topics. Let's look at the responding to Trump issue first. Big question in the Democratic Party. What's the appropriate way to respond? We saw how Senator Padilla did. What would be your role, Senator McKinley, in Sacramento? How would you approach wanting to take on the federal government and knowing that based on the thin-skinned nature of this pathetic man, that if you insult him too much, he will take it out on our district?
Absolutely. This is a space I've had to navigate even very carefully as president of the Human Relations Commission. You know, say the wrong thing and we can put a target on LA civil rights back. You know, and a question that I got initially when Trump came into an office and decided to eliminate DEI, so I don't know how I'm still standing here since apparently that's gone, but I got the first question that I was asked by many people was, what is the commission going to do? What is LA Civil Rights going to do to promote your DEI work if Trump is saying there's no more DEI? And I said, this work has been done long before it was called DEI, and we're going to continue to do the work. And as your state senator, I operate from that same mindset. I'm going to continue to do that work. Offensively, that means suing Trump when he interferes with the way that Californians live their lives, and he's going against our values with these executive orders. We have to make sure that we have the funding to stand up to him in court. And I think, you know, outside of recent appeals, that has been largely successful. So I think one of the things that I would do as a state senator is to make sure that we still have appropriate that funding and that we are able to sue Trump. But secondly, to make sure that we are pushing forward legislation that protects our most vulnerable communities and that protects Californian values when it comes to reproductive care, when it comes to our LGBTQ community, when it comes to our immigrant community. In response to everything that's been happening these past few weeks with the ICE raids, we're seeing things like the no masking of police act. We're seeing things and bills coming forward that say schools should not be handing over students' immigration statuses or school records without a warrant. So there are actionable things that we can do to make sure that we are further empowering and entrenching our values as Californians, and then also take him to court. We need to make sure that we continue to do that as well. So when it comes to standing against Trump, I think this is why we need an attorney in office, but not just an attorney, one who has been doing this under LA civil rights. And as president of the commission, I've been in the trenches doing this work, and I'd like to continue doing it at the state Senate.
Great. So, and you mentioned, your second thing you mentioned was the housing crisis obviously continues to worsen. HUD estimates 1.5 million low-income California renters spend more than half of their income on rent and utilities. Will you commit to substantially increasing state funding for rental assistance? And if so, what can you point to in your record, your track record, that shows that you really commit to that?
I think it's lived experience. I have never been able, even, you know, I consider myself blessed. I'm an attorney, I'm doing well. I can't afford to buy a home. I've been a renter throughout my entire adult life. So the reason why I think you can see that I would actually do this is because it affects me as well. I'm in the same boat as a lot of young professionals in California, and then I work with community who's struggling on the low income side, and that exact statistic we're talking about, that's one rent increase away from falling into being unhoused. And we need to make sure that we are doing everything in our power to increase tenant protections, to ensure that these individuals, if they're facing an unjust eviction, have access to the attorneys that they need to represent them in court. I think the law can often be used as a weapon against community members like this, and we need to make sure that they have access to the kind of protection, legal protection that they need to ensure that they're being adequately represented in these unjust evictions. And so this is a topic that I'm incredibly passionate about. We discuss it a lot at LA Civil Rights and in working with community, and something that as a renter myself, I would want to ensure is protected, and that we're working on improving so that all families, working families that live here can live here comfortably, and those who come to work here can afford to live here.
Okay, thanks. So let's talk about your experience with civil rights, criminal justice system that we tried to have some reforms over the last decade or so, and there was a big pushback in the last election. George Gascon was voted out, Prop 36 passed. How do you sort of see the balance between wanting to reform, having a reformed criminal justice system, showing, an approach of restorative justice, but seeing how the voters are responding to that kind of negatively? What's the balance, and how do we achieve the right outcomes?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're still kind of seeing how the recent reforms and legislations that have passed are playing out, how they are working. I've never been a proponent of just locking people up. I think that there is a balance to the way that we approach public safety and community safety. As president of the Human Relations Commission, I work closely with the Los Angeles Police Department from the community safety perspective. For example, we brought together young adults after George Floyd. We brought together young adults and off-duty patrol officers, and we sat them down to discuss how to rebuild trust after George Floyd, and we provided a series of recommendations to the Los Angeles Police Department about how they can better police communities. I think that one thing that is incredibly important that we could be focusing on is training. We had a lot of recommendations provided around training. I know that our LGBTQIA+ liaison works particularly as well with us and the department in making sure that even the way that they police our trans community is done in a way that is more humane. So I think finding the balance when it comes to public safety, community safety, is looking at safety through a holistic lens, right? And knowing that there needs to be a balance between restorative justice and not just throwing people away, but actually also getting to the root of crime as well. And I do think housing and affordability plays into that as well.
Okay, so getting back to one of your key points, climate, obviously a huge issue for our club and for you. Our region experienced a horrible disaster this year. Dozens of people, we all know people who lost their homes, people in this room probably did. And we're experiencing extreme weather, East Coast, huge heat wave right now, right? What specific policies or initiatives would you prioritize in the state Senate above and beyond what California is already a leader on this, but what else can we do to address this issue?
Yes, absolutely. So I think when it comes to wildfires, I think prioritizing and making sure that we're doing all that we're supposed to be doing in terms of prevention, using our natural plants to make sure that we are making places less likely to burn, making sure that we are home hardening. I think insurance, we saw what happened with the Fair Plan Act today and the ruling that just came down on that. That was a win for homeowners, but there's still so much more that we need to address in the area of insurance. And the reality of the situation is that, wildfires are going to keep coming for this foreseeable future. And we need to make sure that as we rebuild, we're rebuilding in such a way that entices private insurers back into the market. Right now, people are not getting policies written for their homes, and that is because, from a business perspective, insurers are not wanting to write policies for homes that are almost considered a guaranteed loss. So how do we bring them back into the market? We need to make sure that we are building better, that we are building these wildfire-prone zones, but we're building the homes there, and we're home hardening those homes, that we're not putting all of that cost, because it is a very expensive thing to do, that we're not putting all that cost on the shoulders of homeowners and property owners. I think that the state needs to step in and be creative on how we can better home harden our homes so that we can entice insurers back into the market and get these insurance policies not only written, but the prices of insurance down, and hopefully get a cap on premiums eventually. I also think that another focus being on wildfire response and prevention, making sure that we're doing everything that we're supposed to be doing in those areas to make sure that we are prepared for wildfires, and also standing up to Trump and all that he is doing to undo the incredible work that Senator Ben Allen has championed, the incredible work that, California California is a leader in the world when it comes to climate change. And Trump is actively working to undo and erase all of our progress. We see it with the asbestos regulations. We see it with car emissions. So a big priority for me outside of wildfire response and rebuild is making sure that we are carrying on that work and not allowing the Trump administration to erase all the great progress that California has made when it comes to protecting our climate.
Great, thank you. So, and then the fourth plank you mentioned, healthcare. So this club has long supported single-payer healthcare. We've endorsed every version of CalCare that's ever been proposed, I think. So is universal healthcare, single-payer, something you support? And if so, more than just being a vote for it, how can you be a leader to help see it through?
Yes, absolutely. I think that healthcare costs are crippling households. People cannot afford healthcare. This ties into the housing crisis. It ties into increases in poverty. It's a human right to have access to healthcare. Everybody deserves access to quality healthcare, and I would surely be a proponent and supporter of making sure that people have that access. I think one of the biggest hurdles to getting single payer or a Medicare for all passed has been in funding. And one thing that I do as president of the Human Relations Commission is I bring a wide coalition of experts to figure out how to get solutions that we need for problems like this. So I would bring together experts in nursing and finance, medical care providers, and ensure that they're at the table so that we can find the funding to make sure that that Medicare for all single payer can actually get passed. I also think secondly and incrementally, I would work to protect our health care through increasing community clinics, making sure that there are incentives for people to join the healthcare force. I also think that, and I hate to beat a dead horse with tying it back to housing and affordability, making sure that our nurses, we have so many hospitals in this district, making sure that our healthcare workers can afford to live in this district. So those are the actions that I would prioritize in terms of healthcare.
Great, so let's touch on education for a minute. How would you work to ensure that California's public schools, especially those underserved students in our district, receive the resources that they need so that we can close the achievement gaps and prepare students for their future?
Yes, absolutely. I think that when it comes to education, making sure that we're protecting the funding for education. My brother was just cut from a PhD biology program from UCR due to Trump's cuts against science. So what Trump is doing to education is very personal to me, very personal to my family. I grew up going to public schools. I would not be where I am today if not for the investment of teachers that I know really went out of their way, spent a lot of money out of their own pocket to make sure that I got the educational experience that I received. And I was talking to one who informed me that she doesn't know if she'd be able to give me that same experience if she was still teaching today because of how overworked our teachers now are and how high the cost of living is and how little they make. I have friends who are currently teachers who are working at the Department of Education, fearful for their jobs. So this is a very personal topic to me, and I would continue to support and champion legislation that protects our underserved communities. One thing that I'm prioritizing at our commission, because our LGBT youth are terrified right now, our immigrant youth are terrified right now, and we're working on ways to provide support to the children across public school districts are afraid from what is happening right now with ICE and these federal attacks against communities. So I would continue to be a champion for that kind of work when it comes to education and protecting our students.
Great. Okay, let's close with this question. You can take it however you want. So we've been represented by Ben Allen for the past decade, hometown son. We won't have a Santa Monica in the state Senate after the next election. Tell us what we can expect from Senator McKinley. How would it be different from Senator Allen in terms of, style, types of focus, or where do you see what's the Senator McKinley going to look like? Your focus points and how it'll be different for us.
Yes, absolutely. You know, I admire Senator Ben Allen, and I would work to make sure that we're building upon his work in entertainment. We need to get this film and TV tax credit passed. We are losing a lot of really great jobs. We are losing this industry, an industry that used to be an opportunity for people to break out of poverty. My parents broke out of poverty by dancing on the streets of Venice Beach. They were pop locking with the hat in front of them, dancing on the Venice boardwalk, got discovered by ABC, joined the union SAG-AFTRA, got discovered, and they were able to break our family out of poverty. I want to I would carry on Ben's work and making sure that we are saving our entertainment industry and keeping those jobs here so others have that same opportunity. I would also want to champion forward and carry on his environmental work, making sure, as I said before, California has been a leader in environment and climate change and ensuring that we remain a leader in that field. As for what you can expect from a Senator McKinley, I think that you can see and hear the passion that I have for working families, the passion that I have for underrepresented and vulnerable communities, the passion that I have to truly make sure that people are living comfortably, that they're not being oppressed, discriminated against, that they can afford to live where they work, that they are living in safe neighborhoods, getting the education that their kids deserve. I think what you can expect from a Senator McKinley is someone who is going to stand up and fight for every part of the district, every person in the district, whether that's Santa Monica, Calabasas, Agora Hills, Torrance, Gardena, El Segundo, Marina Del Rey. I'm going to be someone that builds upon the great work that Senator Ben Allen has already done, and I'm honored to be endorsed by Assemblymember Tina McKinnon, by Senator Lola Smallwood Cuevas, who I'm very humbled to see that in me as well. And I think what you can expect from me is someone that fights for you, someone who fights to rebuild this district in the way that I've already been fighting and championing, as whether that be as an attorney or as president of the Human Relations Commission, leading the fight against hate and anti-Semitism.
Great. Let's hear it for her. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you all so much. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, we'll leave that for you. Okay. Now we're going to turn to one of our most consequential local land use decisions we've ever faced as a community, and one that our club has been deeply engaged in for the past few months. So I want to just review how we got here at this point. And it's not going to be like the airport presentations where there's a whole flow chart of meetings. As many of you know, the airport's going to close at the end of 2028, which gives us a few short years to determine the future of about 200 acres of publicly owned land, a once-in-a-generation opportunity. Back in April, we met here in this room. We had a meeting to hear a wide range of perspectives on what could and should come next. Some advocated for the long-envisioned Great Park. Others raised ideas about affordable housing, mixed-use development, new civic infrastructure. At that meeting, we voted to form an ad hoc airport committee made up of club members representing diverse viewpoints. Their task was to dive into the details, review the city's draft scenarios, consult experts, analyze public feedback, and ultimately bring back a thoughtful recommendation to the membership. In late May, we held another special meeting with city staff where we got a closer look at the 3 test fit draft scenarios and asked questions directly to those who are shaping the vision. Meanwhile, our airport committee itself met several times, weighing the options, asking hard questions, working to find common ground. Last week, the committee voted on a formal recommendation. Tonight, they're bringing it to the full membership, which is all of you, to consider and vote on. This probably won't be the last time we talk about the airport as an issue, but it is a really key moment in that process. The City Council is going to begin their deliberations on July 8th, so tonight is our chance to speak with one voice ahead of that process. Now, I want to note that obviously the committee vote was not unanimous, so after we hear the majority recommendation, we're going to invite dissenting committee members to share some alternate perspectives. Then after that, we're going to open the floor for discussion, consider motions, take a vote or two, determine whether to adopt the recommendation, and what exactly our final position will be of the club. So first up, let's invite committee members Ann Bowman, Joe Pertell, and Patty Braun to present on the committee's recommendation. Hey guys. Yeah, the water's here. Grab the water. Here you go. I'm going to share the screen. Okay.
To do page down.
Hang on a second. Yeah. Slideshow. Okay, you're in.
All right.
How do you page down?
It's like left and right. There.
Is it this one? It should try it
Just
one
doing
time.
to the. This one should do it, right? Oh,
Let's just
I
practice.
just click. It's actually click and then. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so I'm good.
Left and right.
Perfect.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Joe Pertell. I'm a Sunset Park resident. I've been a member of the Santa Monica Democratic Club's Ad Hoc Airport Conversion Committee. I'm also been a member of the Santa Monica Airport Commission for the past several years. I first genuinely want to thank the Santa Monica Democratic Club and its leadership, particularly Mike, John, Patricia, and Sean, for undertaking this open and thoughtful process. The residents of Santa Monica have been fighting literally for decades to close the airport, and the planning process for the Great Park is literally one of the most consequential decisions our residents will make for future generations of our community. Over the past couple months, as John mentioned, the ad hoc committee has carefully studied and discussed this planning process for the airport property. There were a total of 31 members of this committee with a wide range of backgrounds, including law, secondary and higher education, medicine, technology, housing, finance, aviation, the environment, and community activists. We met as a committee for a total of 3 times for more than 2 hours on each occasion. We also attended and reviewed the meetings that John just mentioned, the large Santa Monica Democratic Club membership meetings, which included the presentation a couple weeks ago from the city's airport conversion planning team on May 28th. Last Thursday, on June 18th, the Santa Monica Democratic Club Ad Hoc Committee voted 18-7 in support of the following recommendation to its full membership to consider this evening. Quote, the Santa Monica Democratic Club recommends to City Council, for the benefit of all, the creation of an inspirational, LC-compliant Great Park that would not trigger a ballot measure before airport closure, with financing that prioritizes existing on-site revenue sources, with no sale or other privatization of the land. So what does it mean then to recommend an LC-compliant Great Park? LC compliant means and refers to the language of Measure LC, which Santa Monica residents overwhelmingly passed in 2014 to amend the city charter, which states that new development on the airport land is prohibited post-closure except for, quote, the development of parks, public open space, and public recreational facilities, and the maintenance and replacement of existing cultural, arts, and education uses. So I want to give you a little bit of background on the airport conversion project's 5 guiding principles that our City Council unanimously adopted on January 28, 2025. These principles, which are listed here, inspired and guided the work of the ad hoc committee members who support the pending pro-park LC compliant recommendations this evening. Briefly, in the fall of 2024, thousands of Santa Monica residents participated in a series of comprehensive and somewhat mind-numbing surveys, as you all recall, concerning their vision for the airport property upon its closure. In December 2024, more than 800 residents in our community showed up on a Saturday morning for a planning event at Memorial Park. Many of you, I know, were there, sponsored by the airport conversion team from the city. That was likely the largest event of its kind in the history of Santa Monica. We had 800 people show up on a Saturday morning to talk about a park. The results of these surveys, if you've looked at them, and the public events that surrounded this process, overwhelmingly support the creation of an LC-compliant park. Here are the 5 guiding principles that came out of this public process that was unanimously adopted by the City Council. Number 1, start with nature. Prioritizing environmental sustainability, the project aims to create a regenerative urban ecosystem with habitat creation and indigenous planting. It will also focus on building community resilience against climate change, something that we experience every day. 2, inspire wonder. The project seeks to create an inclusive space that fosters a sense of wonder and connection for all, with areas for the arts, play, gatherings, and events. Balance economics, which is an issue which comes up frequently. The project will aim for economic equilibrium by balancing revenue-generating activities with community amenities and ensuring the park is self-sustaining. On that note, as a member of the Airport Commission for many years, we know that the airport currently generates approximately $18 million a year in non-aviation lease revenues. This is important because once the airport closes, these funds can be used ideally as part of an enterprise fund, which is segregated from the city's budget, to pay for ongoing park maintenance and activities. It can also be used to help fund a revenue bond to create the park, the capital costs associated with it. So this is something that can be done from an economic standpoint. Number 4, amplify versatility. This park will offer flexible spaces that can accommodate both individual needs and large community gatherings, with a mix of active and passive recreation uses. And then finally, 5.
Sorry, you guys, there's a lag between
Sorry.
this and that. Not to interrupt you. Go
Sorry
ahead.
about that. Okay. And 5, celebrate place. This project will honor the history of Santa Monica, including its pre-colonial heritage and aviation history, while also creating a distinctive contemporary environment. So, after evaluating the results of the community engagement, the guiding principles adopted by the City Council, and listening to the presentations this spring, as well as the work of the ad hoc committee, which genuinely worked very cooperatively. The recommendation of our ad hoc committee passed last week closely mirrors the overwhelming results of the city's public planning process, as well as recent decisions by numerous Santa Monica commissions, boards, and task force. In just the past 2 weeks, the following bodies have passed recommendations to City Council for the creation of an LC-compliant Great Park that will not trigger a ballot measure before airport closure at the end of 2028. And these are the 5 commissions just in the past 2 weeks that have voted to support essentially the same recommendation that we're bringing before you this evening. And that's the Airport Commission, which voted last night unanimously. The Arts Commission also voted last night. The Commission on Sustainability, Environmental Justice, and the Environment, the Recreations and Parks Commission, and the Urban Forest Task Force. In looking at all of these, the City Council's passage of the acceptance of the guiding principles, the community results, and the work of the Commission and the committees over the past several weeks, we urge you to adopt the ad hoc committee's proposed recommendations this evening. And now I'd like to turn it over to Ann Bowman and Patty, who also support the ad hoc's recommendation. Thank you.
Great job. Thank you, sir. Good evening, everybody. Again, my name's Ann. I apologize. There's a little bit of a lag between what we're seeing here and there, so hopefully what I'm about to say in this section will mostly make sense. I am a Recreation and Parks Commissioner, so one thing the ad hoc committee wanted to do as part of its recommendation was also inform you all here tonight and on Zoom about some of the materials and findings that we studied during the committee process. So without further ado, I'm going to briefly touch on airport history, then park statistics, and then a little bit about densification. So hopefully everyone knows this already, but we once had a great park at this very site. The land was purchased in 1926 by the city with a public parks bond. The city still owns the land. We all own it as residents, and shortly after purchasing the land, the city created a beautiful park. This is, it's not up there yet. The city created a beautiful park that was under where the airstrip is now, and some of the amenities in that park were a large golf course, playgrounds, tennis courts, playing fields, horseshoes. I don't know why there's a lag. Horseshoes, lawn bowling. Anyhow, it was a wonderful park. However, take a good look at it because I'm going to try to get the next slide as fast as I can. So this was our original great park, and we enjoyed it for about 15 years until the U.S. entered World War II. And I think everybody knows this. At that point, the federal government commandeered the land. It became an airport for defense and airplane manufacturing, and the federal government has controlled that land ever since. And the city has litigated and negotiated for many decades to try to get it back. And hopefully we are poised to close the airport and turn it over to a different use, which obviously we all hope is a great park. So what happened when we lost the park? That decimated our park space in Santa Monica. It cut it by over half, and we continue today to have a serious lack of park space. Oh, good. We're all synced up again. So check out this chart. Santa Monica at 1.4 acres of park and open space per 1,000 residents is at the bottom of cities across California. We're way behind Manhattan Beach, Malibu, San Diego, Santa Barbara, Berkeley. We are at the bottom. A lot of people wonder, well, doesn't our beach acreage make up for that? And for a lot of reasons, it helps, but in terms of park space, no, it doesn't, because parks are completely different ecosystems and provide completely different things from what beaches do. Parks are generally regenerative, green, providing oxygen, providing cooling, which helps lower temperature, helps address heat island effects. Beaches are great, but beaches don't do that. And another piece that you need to consider when we talk about our beaches is that they may not be here, or they may not be here in the way that we know it in 50 or 100 years. The city right now is actively engaging in dune restoration because, you know, with sea level rise, we might not have our beaches. So 100 years from now, if we create a great park, I think people will be glad that we have an inland space because our beach may be gone. Last statistic, the percentage of our city that is devoted to park and open space is again at the bottom, notably small. 3% of our city is devoted to open space. Even if we take every single inch of the 192 acres that currently is this airport land, it'll still only bring us up to 6% of our land in open and park space, way at the bottom behind cities like San Francisco, Oakland, LA, and Long Beach, all of which are super dense like we are. So we are measurably park poor, like seriously park poor by all standards. The minimum recommended by the state and at the national level is a minimum of 5 acres per 1,000 residents, and we will never be anywhere near that. Also, our parks are in super high demand. 61% of residents go to our parks every week, as well as visitors. That's 9,000 people in our parks each day. and as we densify, which we know we're going to keep building housing, we're going to keep inviting people into our city and being welcoming. As we do more of that and more of the densification, again, our park acres to residence ratio will keep decreasing. So our future population growth is going to put huge demands on our park space now, and hopefully we'll create a little bit more in the future. One other question that came up in our ad hoc is, well, this is so much land. There's just room for so much that we can put on it. On one level, that's true. This is a lot of land for Santa Monica, but if you see the red figure, this is actually from the airport conversion report from like 4 years ago. So the red is the area of the Santa Monica airport now juxtaposed on top of big parks that a lot of you may be familiar with. So upper left, Central Park; upper right, Tempelhof Airport Park, which is a big airport conversion in Berlin; lower left, Balboa Park in San Diego; and then Golden Gate Park in San Francisco. So in terms of Central Park and Golden Gate Park, we're really only about a fourth to a fifth of the land of those parks. So big for us, not so big when you think about other parks you may know. And there's climate change. That is a reality. You know, our distinguished senatorial candidate talked about this. Climate change is, we hope, going to drive people out of places that burn, like mountain communities. Hopefully we'll bring people in from the desert where there's water scarcity, and it's just going to get too hot to live there. So it's appropriate that we're trying to bring people back into LA's core, into Santa Monica, because if we're lucky, we'll stay a little bit cooler than Palm Desert most times of the year. We also have smart people doing water here, so hopefully we'll be a place that always has enough water. But what that means for us is we're almost functionally an island in a way. And so to think about that conceptually, let's look at New York City back in 1850 when they were planning Central Park. As you can see, it's already pretty built out. It's low rise, but it's built out. So are Brooklyn and New Jersey. And then here is Santa Monica only a couple years ago. It was after 2021, because you can see historic Belmar Park there in the middle. Hopefully you can see it. So what do you see? We are low rise and we are built out already. And we do not have any parks. I'm just going to pop, oops, sorry about that. New York City in 1850, Santa Monica now. So what that tells us is we're at an inflection point, just like Manhattan was 170 years ago when they built Central Park. And the question for us is, as we densify, as we go up, are we going to do the two sides of the urban infill development coin, which is, yeah, you're doing more housing and development, but you gotta add enough open space and park space for all the people that you're bringing in. So we can just keep building and not doing enough park space, and we can look like this, or hopefully, I think our ad hoc, those who voted for the recommendation, hope that we'll make a choice that looks a lot more like this. Hopefully, Santa Monica will never be this dense and urban. We'll do our own version of a Central Park, but we really need to do it. And I hope you all will vote for the recommendation that the committee is putting forth tonight. And without further ado, I want to introduce Patty Braun. She's a hero of mine. I'm not going to rhapsodize about her too much, but I met her through PTA. I've known her for 15 years. She'll tell you a teensy bit about herself, but she is someone in this community who walks the walk. She helps kids every day in our school district not be hungry so they can learn. So if you don't know Patty, get to know her. And without further ado, it's my privilege to introduce Patty Braun. Thank you all.
Wow, what an introduction. Anne just did all of that without notes. That's just amazing. And now she's my hero as well. Thank you, Anne and Joe. Thank you, Dim Club, for having me. I am so honored to speak with you tonight about the Ad Hoc Airport Conversion Committee's recommendation. I'm inspired that so many of you set aside time tonight here and online because you care about your community and you are committed to Democratic Party values. And I wanted to share with you all the lens through which I viewed our committee work and through which I've looked at airport conversion. I come from an education background. I was a teacher, and for 3 decades, I've been an arts and education advocate. As a volunteer, as Ann said, I run a free food program that serves children and youth in our schools who face weekend food insecurity. I'm also the Vice President of Community Concerns for the Santa Monica Malibu PTA Council, in which I've served in elected leadership for nearly 3 decades. I see our current president, the wonderful Nicole Ferries, here tonight. Hi, Nicole. PTA is the largest child advocacy organization in the country. Santa Monica Malibu PTAs represent all our school children and their teachers and their families. And I was president emeritus back in 2014 when SMM-PTA, concerned by the dangerous airport and its toxic emissions in a residential neighborhood so close to our schools and our preschools, and motivated by the tremendous need for recreational green and blue spaces in our park-poor, rapidly densifying city, engaged in a comprehensive study of Measure LC. After examining the issues thoroughly, as is our process, SMM PTA Council, with the presidents representing all our school sites, voted to endorse Measure LC. PTA Council and the families and teachers from all of Santa Monica schools that we represent then hit the streets and the phones, probably with many of you, to help pass this measure, along with many of our partner organizations, like the League of Women Voters, and along with respected political organizations like SMER, and yes, the Santa Monica Democratic Club. Hundreds of families represented by PTA have also engaged in the Santa Monica airport conversion process that Joe spoke about, asking for no development on this land and for a great park there to serve all our residents, particularly keeping in mind the children and youth without backyards and adequate space in which to play. That public engagement has shown unequivocally that Santa Monica prefers an LC-compliant great park with no development that would trigger a ballot measure, and with amenities connected to culture, the arts, sports, and recreation. You can picture small restaurants or cafes, a children's museum, perhaps, small performing arts venues for our wonderful Samo High and middle school arts groups, playing fields, sports facilities, a swimming pool, playgrounds, gathering spaces, it just goes on and on, community gardens, I know I'm forgetting many, many things, picnic areas, etc. Now, with the understanding that some things have changed in our city, SMM PTA Council re-examined the issues around the airport this fall, much as the official ad hoc committee I am representing tonight with Joe and Ann have done. And I'm really happy to say that PTA Council voted unanimously to reaffirm our commitment to Measure LC with its aim of maximizing the 192 acres to create a great park with no development carving it up. We hope that the body of the Santa Monica Democratic Club will do the same tonight, reaffirming our commitment to LC by honoring the work of the ad hoc committee and by voting to approve our recommendation to the city. Now, I consider the health and well-being of our children paramount when evaluating airport conversion and the benefits of a great park. And as Ann's graphs showed you, Santa Monica is severely park poor by all county, state, and national measures. And this negatively affects our most vulnerable residents. The more dense our city becomes with housing, the more trees and gardens, fields, and open space we all need to play, to exercise, to gather, to breathe. An inspirational, expansive great park is a necessary companion to housing density. We cannot sustain the growth and future density of our city healthfully without open spaces. I'm going to repeat this thought because I know that each person here tonight came out because they care about their community. As future density occurs in Santa Monica over the next decades, and it will, the need for the need for our residents, and particularly our children in multifamily housing without backyards, to run, to explore learning gardens, to exercise pets, to play sports, to swim, to fully immerse themselves in nature, will only be more urgent. We believe that our city's children and youth deserve these things We believe our family members, our seniors, our coworkers, and our neighbors deserve these life-giving things, and a 192-acre great park will make them possible. We're coming to the end. We know we've shared a lot of information with you in a very short period of time. Thanks for hanging in there. It was important to us that you had all had the information that we had, the ad hoc committee had discussed over many, many hours and then voted upon. As we conclude, I remind you that the health and well-being of our community rests in the City Council's hands. But just as it did in 2014, the DIM Club can help our leaders make a prudent decision that will positively affect our whole region for centuries. There's just one large-scale piece of land left upon which to create an expansive, innovative, great park in our seriously park-poor city. We have this one chance to be visionaries that can help all ages thrive. We ask you to honor the will of the voters who passed LC in 2014, and we hope that you will really support the committee's recommendation tonight. There is the recommendation that our committee has voted upon and made. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you so much to Joe, to Patty, to Ann. Thank you to the whole committee for all of the work that everyone's done. But we're not done yet on the presentations because, like I said, there are some dissenting opinions, and we want to hear from perspectives now. So first up, we're going to hear from Vivian Rothstein.
Good evening. I feel like I'm in an alternative reality from the presentation from the committee members that you just heard. I was also on the ad hoc committee, and there's a number of people here who were also participating. It was not an exchange of ideas. It was a majority of people supporting the airport, barely allowing us to talk about our issues. We did not study together. We did not really do what communities do, which is listen to each other and try to come up with a middle position. There was absolutely none of that. And so I'd like to invite, if it's possible, John, for some of the other members who participated, if they want to make a comment, to make a comment. If we take seriously what Brittany McKinley talked about today, as a young Democrat, she talked about the housing crisis. It's real, it's profound, it's extreme in Los Angeles and in Los Angeles County and in Santa Monica. I'm a 43-year resident of Sunset Park where I raised my kids. My mother was a rent control activist after she got evicted from her an apartment in the 80s, 70s actually, and became part of the rent control movement in Santa Monica. Tonight, I'm representing the Cloverfield Commons Coalition. It's a group of local residents who spent 2 years studying the airport, studying the housing need, and studying how we could incorporate both a large park and below market rate housing to meet the needs of our community. Our goal is mixed multifamily housing for a range of incomes and households, sizes adjacent to a public park, housing for people who work in our schools, our hotels, our hospitals, retail and restaurant establishments, plus elders and displaced Santa Monicans. We too value green space and open space. I do want to mention that when the park advocates talk about open space, they never talk about the beachfront, which is 3.5 miles of waterfront property, and then 245 acres of sand with recreation activities and biking trails and Muscle Beach activities. That is part of our city. That is what draws a lot of people to Santa Monica, and we all have access to it. I, for one, go to the beach a lot. I also go to Cloverfield Park a lot. But the beach is the draw, and it is a recreational and spiritual, really, resource for our city. While we value the green space in the city, we also see the building of a community that includes those who are priced out of our Santa Monica current housing market as the more pressing social need locally and throughout the region. An affordable community adjacent to a beautiful park is available to all is our vision, and we feel like we can have both. Tonight, there's going to be a vote on the majority from our ad hoc committee. Because it took in no input from any of us, no input from the actual housing crisis, I personally am not going to vote for it. Instead, the Cloverfield Commons Coalition has an alternate proposal, which we are going to put forward, that calls for a park and housing, below market rate housing, to be studied by the city for the EIR in the planning for the reuse of Airport Park. And I want to mention that the Santa Monica City Attorney is also suggesting and recommending strongly to the City Council that housing be included in the EIR study as well. There are various mandates from the state that the city may be facing regarding housing production, particularly affordable housing production, and he recommends that the city be prepared with already doing an analysis to be able to respond. I want to say that I'm dismayed. I think there is a generational divide in this meeting and in the city between the young people who are coming up, who are wanting to start families, who are wanting to move out of an apartment that's small so that they can accommodate children, and there's almost no alternatives for them. The city is overwhelmingly majority renters. People who are lucky to have rent-controlled apartments are stuck in them, no matter what the size, because our housing market is so expensive, and the city is becoming so exclusive. And we do have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, as the previous speaker mentioned, but it's a lifetime opportunity, once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to really express the values of diversity that this community has, economic diversity, supporting our local economy, supporting the people who keep our city going, who keep us healthy, who keep our hotels successful, to bring in money for the city. We have an opportunity, and it's an opportunity to meet the time. What happened in 1926 with this land is not the same thing that is needed in 2025. We need to be in the present. And we need to speak for the generations that are coming up. Our kids and the other people who grew up in this area, the people who are working here, their families, we need to look forward instead of backwards. So as a member of that committee, I was profoundly disappointed in the loss of an opportunity to really have a dialogue and for people to move in any direction. It just didn't happen. We didn't really study a lot. We bantered a lot. We had difficult expressions of opinion, but we figured out no way to really come together. And so this is a challenge for Santa Monica. Are we going to really think about all of us, or are we just going to think about some of us? So, thank you. So I'd like to invite just, if any of the other people who are on the committee have a few words they'd like to say, can I invite them up?
Why don't we go in order. I know Mike told me you wanted to speak. Jeremy will be after that, and then anyone else who's on the committee will do it. The same thing you're asking for, basically. But this is the dissenting positions are going to be presenting their point of view. Okay, okay. You know, we'll keep it, and I'm not going to set an exact number of minutes, but we'll keep it to that it's equivalent to what you did or less. Okay, Mike, go ahead.
Thank you. As you know from my prior time up here, I've been rather busy today, so I haven't as much time to organize this as I might otherwise, so bear with me. So I'm on the executive board of the Santa Monica Democratic Club, and when we formed the idea of doing all of this, it was in the context that the city council is going to be giving direction, it's moving towards giving direction on an environmental impact report regarding the land at the airport. Everybody on the committee agrees that one of the things that needs to be studied in that is a great park along the lines that was just described. The issue that divided the committee, and really the only issue that was meaningfully dividing the committee, was whether in another scenario, which by definition EIRs consider, there should also be a portion of that land set aside for below market rate housing, as well as the vast majority of the land or the majority of the land for affordable housing. So that's the issue, and I was in the minority group that thinks that the Santa Monica Democratic Club should be recommending to the city, in addition to studying what was just presented in the main presentation, also that in an alternative scenario, consider that a portion of the land be for below market rate housing. And let me tell you why. This is pretty simply a values issue. I think it is fair to say that the vast majority of us who self-selected to be on the committee already had views on this issue, and we exchanged our positions, but it wasn't really based on more than that values. Santa Monica historically has been a community that has said to the world that what is best is not just for the wealthy. We have affordable housing that's looking out on the ocean in Santa Monica. We have affordable housing all over this city, and in a place that's got great beaches, a great economy, great schools, that we want that to be something that's available, unlike the rest of the West Side, for a wide variety of economic circumstances. The way we've met that in the past is by creating affordable housing and using public land and public money, as well as the requirement that developers create some of this affordable housing. And that has worked in the past. Unfortunately, because we're such a desirable place to live, and because the state has made it so that every time somebody rents a new rent control apartment, you reset the rent to market, we no longer have any housing in the city other than the housing we create as deed restricted housing that's affordable to lower income people, that's affordable to moderate income people, and even now affordable to at the bottom end of the middle income group. And so if we want to maintain Santa Monica as a place of economic diversity into the future, and that is what we're talking about here, with the airport as our future, we are going to have to take bold action to make that happen. And the reason that we need to take a portion of the land at the airport, for those who want that, is because land is so valuable here. If it's $25 million an acre and we have to go buy that land somewhere else in the city instead of using the land we already have, that's that many fewer people we can help. So what is the reason why we shouldn't even at least study this proposition? I have not heard it. I've heard that we all want a great park, and that's true, and that should be studied. And even I want a great park. I have my worn out airport to park t-shirts because I wore them so many times. The first political campaign I was involved in Santa Monica was my wife's for city council. And on all her literature, which we self-financed, it said, vote for LC and no on D. So we're all agreed on that, but we could do significant amounts of affordable housing in the future on just a portion of that land. And nothing came out at the committee, at least, as to why, if we have 192 acres, why if it's a 145-acre park or 165-acre park, that's going to be materially different to all the values that we're talking about, at least to the point that we shouldn't even study it? Okay. In terms of our kids, absolutely, we need parks and all of that, but I think our kids also need to know something else, which is what values should they have, and does we as a community want them to have. I like my kids, at least, and I did raise them with the values that we're incredibly blessed and lucky, but we need to share with other people who are not as incredibly blessed and lucky. I've been proud to live in a community that represents those values, and I hope that will continue in the future. I think that's good for our children as well. So at the end of the day, nothing's being decided about what's finally going to happen, and nothing could be. Even if it's studied in the EIR, because what LC said was you can only do these things unless there's a further vote of the people, we're not going to do anything other than what's in the already allowed LC unless there's a vote of people. And then the people in Santa Monica will have decided yes or no whether they want to do that, if anybody wants to even pursue that after it's studied in the EIR. So for me, at the end of the day, it's pretty simple. My personal values are I don't want to live in a gated community, and that's what Santa Monica is becoming if we don't take bold action to stop it. I think that Santa Monica historically, and the people who live here, the majority of them have not felt that way when we go to the ballot box. And we owe it to them to study at least this possibility. And lastly, as a Democratic Party at a time when it's so obvious that the working class of America believes that the Democratic Party has abandoned them to only take care of the well-off, we have always stood against that here in Santa Monica, and I think it's important that we do it. Nothing. So at the end of the day, all I'm saying is, yes, let's absolutely study what's being put forward there, but let's also have one other scenario where below market rate housing is also studied at the airport, in addition to the vast majority of it being for a great park. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Mike. And next up, Jeremy Bamberger.
Good evening. How's everybody doing? Everybody good? Need stretching exercises? Breathing exercises? All right. My name is Jeremy Bamberger. I'm a resident of Ocean Park. I'm an architect and urbanist. I'm also a board member of a nonprofit organization called the Housing Action Coalition, which is based in San Francisco and in LA. It is a wide tent organization that is uniquely focused on housing supply and production and policy at all levels of affordability. I also was on the ad hoc committee. I generally endorse the expansiveness of thought of Mike and Vivian, and pretty vehemently disagree with the exclusionary thinking of one option for study of the EIR. So I wanted to offer just a few of my own personal thoughts on the subject. As I mentioned, I'm an architect and an urbanist. I've sort of spent my life, I've found a passion in life, which is to solve the most pressing problems that our cities face. And my analysis here is that, especially in California, especially in coastal California, our primary issue is a housing shortage. As the Senate candidate mentioned, it is a pretty drastic shortage. I think we have less of a park problem than the arguments have been made. When I invite everybody to ask themselves, when was the last time you were in Santa Monica and you went to a park and experienced mass overcrowding, versus when you've walked out down the street and have experienced a homeless population here. Don't take my word for it. Don't take anybody else's word for it. Just sort of use your own analysis. So I really just want to set the stage, and I think Mike did a good job teeing this up, of what we're actually talking about here. We're talking about optionality study for an EIR, an environmental impact report. These are my favorite things. They are multi-year studies. They are thousands of pages long. They cost a fortune. And it is all about optionality, and anything that is not included in them is going to be a dramatic uphill battle to try to achieve later down the road, right? So we're talking about this stuff now because we want to have an EIR completed by 2028 when the airport is closed, so we can hit the ground running one direction or another. And so it begs the question why we would seek to restrict our optionality and flexibility now rather than provide the most expansive optionality for decision making down the road once we learn more, because there is a ton to learn still about the airport. So I really think this is about hedging our bets. We reserve the right to make recommendations about what we think ultimately should be at the airport come 2028 after it's closed, and we have conversations around ballot measures or not, Surplus Lands Act or not. I just don't understand why we would restrict ourselves right now, especially when the City Council has instructed both Sasaki and HRNA to study optionality that includes revenue generating sources on site, because they recognize, despite the claims made in some of the presentation material earlier, there is an economic issue here. Like, there is not going to be a self-sustaining park if we don't provide revenue generating sources on this site. The city does not have the money, and I'm not necessarily in favor of encumbering the city with mountains of debt to create a park when there are other options, and we can also solve major problems that we face, such as housing supply. All right, let's see. I want to echo Mike's comment as well. I am very pro-park, absolutely pro-park. I'm a yes and person. I don't understand why it has to be one or the other, why this has to be a binary decision. We have 192 acres. We could do a lot with that land. We could change a lot of people's lives with that land, both in providing useful park and also providing homes for people to live in. There's been a lot of conversations around ecology. Again, I sort of live and breathe this stuff. I could talk your ears off about it. I'll do my best not to. But the single most ecological thing we can do is build housing in coastal, temperate, Mediterranean climates where it doesn't take a lot to heat and cool every single person who lives here. I think, think coastal California and not Texas. And secondarily, we have a massive jobs housing imbalance. A rule of thumb that I love to use is watch the flow of traffic patterns during rush hour. Where traffic is going is where we have a jobs housing imbalance. And so the aspiration would be to build housing near job centers. Santa Monica is dramatically a job center, much more than it is a housing supply area. And we could solve a lot. We could save a lot of carbon emissions if we produce housing close to jobs where people can walk, bike, other multimodal forms of transportation, rather than up to 3-hour commutes one way to get to their job in Santa Monica. I think about the CO2 emissions of this, and it's significant. There's also been conversations about sort of doing this for the kids. I want our kids to have a fighting chance to live within 50 miles of Santa Monica, and the only way to do that is housing supply. There really is not another option. Housing and parks are incredibly synergistic. I love the idea of a park. Let's have a majority park. Let's also put some housing around so we can maximize the number of people that could use the park. It seems sort of, we looked at pictures of Central Park, and I love Central Park, the defining element of it to me is the urban edge, is the fact that there are millions, we don't have time to sort of dispute all of the claims and statistics that were made, but I invite you to compare the population of Santa Monica versus the population of New York or the population of San Francisco. I lived in San Francisco for 12 years. These are not apples to apples comparisons. Let's see. Yeah, all right, I'll wrap it up. So I just want to, again, in closing, I'm very pro-park. I'm yes and. I wonder what the motivations are when we invite an exclusionary line of thinking on option. All we're talking about is optionality study here. That's all we're talking about. So I don't understand why we would artificially restrict ourselves with flexibility down the road in 2028 when we can make informed decisions. And I strongly urge us to consider an alternative recommendation to City Council that widens our flexibility. Thank you very much.
Okay. So, thank you to our presenters. At this time, we're going to move into the voting portion of this item. And before we start, I'm going to run through the procedure because we always have lots of questions. Like Mike and I talked about earlier, if you're a member in good standing for 30 days and you RSVP'd through the Google form, you can expect to receive your ballot in your email in a few minutes. You'll know we're going to be talking about it. I'm going to say, here it comes. The email will come from Santa Monica Democratic Club. It will open a link to an election buddy email. You'll click a link with a unique link with letters and numbers on it, and it will go to election buddy. It will have the motion that we're about to determine what that motion is. You'll vote yes or no or abstain. This is a secret ballot. No one will know who you voted, not me, not anybody else. As soon as you get your ballot right away, we'll keep the window open for 30 minutes just to make sure that they have time in the back to troubleshoot all the problems. If you haven't received the ballot by the time you see other people starting to get theirs, the first thing to do is check your spam folder in your email. If it's not there, then check in with the team in the back. We'll get to the bottom of it. We'll help you cast your vote. I'll be up here talking to Ellen, so I won't be able to help, but they're going to help you in the back of the room. So now, the floor is open for a motion. Do we have a motion from the membership regarding the airport committee's recommendation? Joe?
Yes, I do. On behalf of the 18 members of the... I'm sorry about that. Hello again. On behalf of the 18 members of the ad hoc subcommittee who voted in support of the recommendation that you saw earlier, I propose that the full membership of the Santa Monica Democratic Club support the following recommendation, which was put up on the screen. I'll read it quickly just to remind everybody what it says. Quote, the Santa Monica Democratic Club recommends to City Council, for the benefit of all, the creation of an inspirational LLC-compliant Great Park that would not trigger a ballot measure before airport closure, with financing that prioritizes existing on-site revenue sources and with no sale or other privatization of the land.
Okay, so... Hold on a second. I'll call you John Paul, don't worry. Here. Okay. So we have the motion to adopt the recommendation as presented. We have a second from Ann Bowman. I'm sorry, I was looking this way. Okay, it's from Claire Thomas. Okay, so now we'll open the floor for discussion for any competing motions. I'm going to recognize Jean Paul in the back.
Thank you, John. Thank you for putting this together, putting the ad hoc work group together. Vivian has provided an alternate motion. And that motion reads, amendment proposed by the Cloverfield Commons Coalition. The wording is, to preserve Santa Monica's economic diversity and support our local economy, the Santa Monica Democratic Club recommends the inclusion of below-market rate housing as well as park and recreational uses in the EIR study for the redevelopment of the Santa Monica Airport land.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second? Okay. We'll give it to you, Joanna. Yeah.
I do want to read that in Spanish for...
Please do, yeah. And can you why don't you bring the microphone over here? We're going to have it read again in Spanish. And then
Hello. First, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Valerie Martin. My family actually established themselves in Santa Monica in 1940s. I work in hospitality at the Courtyard Santa Monica. So as working with tourists, no one asked about a great park. I do believe that is very important but I also think we need to look at everything we need there, and affordable housing is definitely needed. So, enmienda propuesta para la coalición de Cloverfield Commons para preservar la diversidad económica y apoyar nuestra economía local. El Club Demócrata de Santa Mónica recomienda la inclusión de viviendas por debajo del precio del mercado, así como parques y usos recreativos en el estudio de impacto ambiental, EIR, para la reurbanización en el terreno de Santa Mónica.
Okay, thank you. Here, if you can just bring the mic back up here. Okay, so we have a substitute motion that's been seconded. So now, according to Robert's rules, we'll vote on this substitute motion first. If it passes, it becomes the main motion. If it fails, we'll return to the original motion. So before we open the vote, are there folks who want to speak to the motion? And in the interest of time, we'll limit it to 3 speakers on either side. Yeah.
That was a very long amendment. Is there a piece of paper or put on the screen so we can...
Yeah, let me figure out a way. Oh, he's got a copy. He's handing it to you. Jean-Paul, can you give me a copy of it too? No, it's a substitute motion. Okay, thank you. Okay, so do we have people who want to speak for and against this? If we want to, we can just skip past it and go to the voting. If you want, okay, so I see 2 people who are going to want to speak against it. Are there people who want to speak in favor? Denny and Ralph, I saw first. So let's just do 2 and 2 right now, since that's what I saw. So Chris, why don't you come up, and then Denny, and then Sylvie, and then Ralph. Let's have that order. If you don't want to come up here, actually, why don't you stay out there? Chris?
Okay, got it. Hi, I'm Chris Gutierrez, born in Santa Monica, long lived here. And I'm happy to have been on the airport committee. I'm speaking against the substitute motion. First, because the portrayal of the committee's agreed upon motion, 18-7, was truly unfair. We are not exclusionary. We are not opposed to housing. And ironically, anybody who steps out to Lincoln, to 4th Street, anywhere, I live on 14th and Pico, and around the corner, an 8-story building will be going up shortly. So we know, including affordable housing at 3 publicly owned land sites in the city of Santa Monica. So it's very unfair to consider the substitute motion as a motion that protects us from an exclusionary attitude. It's rather insulting to our neighbors. I have long been a housing advocate. I'm long an environmentalist. I'm one of the main people who...
I didn't set a time, but
okay,
if you
I'll
want
wrap
to
this up.
finish your sentence, yeah.
So quality of life is not just about an edifice called a house. Quality of life is about the primary home that we all live in, which is Mother Earth. That last vast site is important. So that is the main reason I will not, the City Council finally can decide on how to extend the EIR. The Airport Committee said we want our primary option to be the LC compliant park. Thank you.
Go ahead, Denny.
John,
thank you so much. I've been listening to this discussion and thinking a lot about the community that I've lived in here for 50 years and how it has stood up, I thought, both for environmental objectives and park, as well as for affordable housing and inclusion. And I'm wondering why these are now so regarded as incompatible objectives. It seems to me, for example, that if there was a proposal that was 75, 80% park, 20, 25% land for affordable housing, that those who were really aspire to see a marvelous park, a wonderful park, would still get
a marvelous, wonderful park. There's no question about it. In fact, if there was 160 acres devoted to a park, we would have exactly the same laudatory, visionary, marvelous attribution to that park. And they'd be right. It will be a wonderful park for everyone, even if there is a share of the land made available for low-income people from this community. This is not really fairly described as an either-or question. This should be seen as a both-and question. And I would urge support for the alternative substitute motion because it keeps that option on the table. It doesn't decide it, it simply keeps it on the table. And for those of you who worry about that, let's have a really fair debate in our community and not limit it just to one choice. Thank you.
John,
Good evening, everyone.
Email ballot.
I just want to name the fact that it's a very intense conversation tonight. And I'd like to invite you all to join me in taking a deep breath together. Can we do that for just like 5 seconds? We are standing here on sacred land. This is unceded land of the Tongva and Gabrielino peoples. And for thousands of years, they knew how to tend this place with love, reciprocity, and respect for the land. What saddens me most deeply is that we have, as a civilization, lost the sense of how much we belong in this world. We are living in a culture that believes that we're separate and superior from nature. And guess what? The very in-breath that we're taking together right now is the out-breath of trees, plants, and plankton. Our children have gotten so hooked on their cell phones and devices that they have forgotten how to play outdoors and with each other. We as a community, Surgeon General Vivek Murthy has said we're living in an epidemic of isolation and loneliness. Our great park is not something that eliminates the possibility of housing. We can have housing on the 95% of Santa Monica that is already paved and gray and filled with concrete. We only have a chance of 3% of regeneration of this land, folks, of regeneration of our mental health, regeneration of our physical health, an opportunity for our community to come together to play, to do all kinds of activities outdoors, whether it's picnic, where it's having these kinds of conversations as an amphitheater under moonlight. It's re-rooting ourselves in nature. Just wrapping up. So I want to urge you to think bigger. We're at the beginning of a millennium where we are seeing our natural systems unraveling, including our communities unraveling. Let us be revolutionary and bring life back to our city and be a beacon and an example to the world that yes, we can tackle climate change, we can tackle reconnection and healing our mental health, our physical health, and have the lungs to our city. The solution for a tummy problem and digestive problem is not removing our lungs. We need our lungs. And yes, let's have good, nurturing food for our tummy too. Thank you.
Okay, last up, Ralph Meacher.
Thank you. It's good to see everybody. I've been here 52 years. Residents of Ocean Park, Sunset Park, and now Northeast Neighbors. And I'm an architect as well, and so I study land use issues. I served on the Planning Commission. I served on the school board. Excuse me. So I'm interested and have really lived my life in the interests of having better community. This doesn't have to be a both-and issue. We can have a park and we can have housing, and it's best if we integrate them together. That's part of our dream. The vote that we took in 2014 was an either-or vote. You want an airport or do you want a park? Of course, I voted for a park. I'm happy that there's an opportunity to have a conversation in the community about where that might go and what does park really mean? What does it really mean? Policy compliant park means turning our backs on our greatest need. Below market rate housing for workers, families, those who have been denied housing, which can be wonderfully interwoven with a great park. We can have people who work in our community live in a well-designed, sustainable environment. That is our dream. Clean air, less traffic, outdoor space, that's a must for our future. What's not a must is an isolated destination, costly, a traffic-generating activity center that turns its back on providing long-term affordable shelter and a forward-looking sustainable neighborhood. Let's not believe a park by itself can save us. Let's not be effete and hubristic. Let's be visionary and inclusive. Thank you.
Okay, is there a point of order? I think I appreciate it, but we're going to go to the vote at this point.
Any chance I can give a perspective of someone that works in Santa Monica? We've heard of nothing but people that just live in Santa Monica.
We did 2 and 2, so we can have you speak. If there's somebody else who wants to speak against the motion, then someone can, can do one more. If it wants to be Ann, because you had more comments. So, do you want to do it? You're fine. Okay. Frank, do you want to speak? Okay. So then, in that case, come on up, and then we'll give Frank the last word, and then we already did 2 and 2. We're going to do 3. We're extending it now. 3 before they vote.
Yeah, thank you. So thank you for allowing me to speak. Again, my name is Valerie Martin. I work at Courtyard Santa Monica. I have the perspective of someone that makes that commute from a different area. The problem is that we need affordable housing. We also are in agreement that we need a park. We think that's a great idea. However, the trouble is that the workers that commute all the way to Santa Monica create an environmental issue. It creates an economical issue. Let's not forget that we have spending power in the community. The last meeting you had on the airport, you guys mentioned that you thought tourism would bring in more money 5 years ago. That has not been. So let's focus on the community and the spending power community can make by coming together and having that park and affordable housing, as well as eliminate that commute and being able to build our community again. We've lost that. I don't know, you guys kept mentioning that. You guys kept mentioning about the children, right? This is for the children. Have you guys been to the parks where they have the recreational centers? Have you seen the homelessness right outside these areas for kids? I don't think you have, because then what our focus on for this needs to be and, not either or. And that's the only thing we're trying to discuss here is an and.
Okay. Okay. Now we'll close it out with the guy who started us off a few months ago, Frank.
Yeah, I actually wasn't. I told Michael Brodsky I wasn't going to say anything since I spoke a couple months ago. But I sort of want to follow up on what Chris said. Personally, it just drives me a little crazy to hear anybody talk about an urban park as exclusionary, especially when they've cast aspersions on parks in general, that they attract, bad elements and all this kind of stuff. So an urban park is not exclusionary. It's something that we all should be very enthusiastic about. It's on a very small percentage of Santa Monica land. It's in an area that is not where Luce says we should be putting housing along transit routes, former industrial areas, downtown. It's isolated. Please, okay, we don't need to take more time. I also want to, but the real reason I wanted to speak was to say to people who are not maybe appreciative of the nuances of what comes from our pro-park side. And they may feel that they were not listened. I was not part of the ad hoc committee, but I followed it closely. They may feel that they were not listened to, but if you look at the language of the motion that came out, it doesn't preclude studying anything, as Chris said. It says that the project that the city council will put in the EIR, the project, the first thing, will be LC compliant. That gets us through. Every EIR has to have alternatives. If the city council wants to put a housing alternative in, the city council can do that. I don't know anybody, and I'm on the boards of both Airport to Park and the Great Park Coalition. I don't know anybody on our boards who opposes studying housing, okay? And that's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about is getting us through to closure and making sure the public knows that a park is going to be created. Because if the public doesn't think that a park is going to be created, that creates potential big political problems. And it also makes people feel that government cannot be effective, which is the big problem facing pro-government people in this country right now. If you look at the language, it says no ballot measure until closure. So the people who drafted that, the pro-housers, were not ultimately saying there couldn't be housing, there couldn't be something else that needs a ballot measure. It's just saying wait until closure. And that's a practical thing. If you're going to put any kind of housing measure on the ballot to amend LC, it's got to go through a planning process. This EIR, where they might say X number of units over this part, that's not a planning process for a park. That's nothing that's going to go to an EIR. So just calm down, please. We're all in this together. We all want to build a great city. The one thing that is absolutely true here is that everybody here believes that they have the best vision for the future of our community. And as people know me, I've been a pro-housing person for the 30-some years that I've been involved in Santa Monica politics. I was so pro-housing that I did not get the Democratic Club endorsement when I ran for city council in 2014.
I remember, yeah.
And well, okay, all right. So
trying to wrap up, though.
I think that's I made my piece.
Okay, cool. All right, thanks. Okay, so we have our substitute motion. Sean, are you guys ready in the back to? Okay, but we don't have to do. So we're voting on the What are we voting on? We're voting on the substitute motion. So I'll put it up on this. Oh wait, where did I put it? I have it somewhere. Here it is. Okay. So I'll put it up on the screen again for a second so people can look at it, but in the back, they're working on getting the ballots ready. At a certain point, Sean, when the ballot goes out, give me a thumbs up, and I'll be in the middle with Ellen, but I'll make sure everyone knows the ballot's officially out the door. And then we'll have 30 minutes from that point. And again, if there's any issues, head back there.
Which issue? What are we voting on?
This is the one up here on your screen. This is the substitute motion.
Do all the people at home know that?
Oh yeah, and they're they're watching. They're, you know. So if the substitute motion passes, then it becomes the main motion, meaning that's the position of the club. And if it fails, then we revert back to the point where we're looking at the main motion, and we would vote on that. Because the main motion was made, and then a substitute motion was made. So per Robert's rules, we deal with the substitute first. Yeah, I'll read it out loud, and then at that point, we'll move on and go to the next portion of the meeting. So the amendment proposed by Cloverfield Commons Coalition to preserve Santa Monica's economic diversity. This Democratic Club recommends the inclusion of below market rate housing as well as park and recreational uses in the EIR study for redevelopment of the Santa Monica Airport land. And just to clarify, the ad hoc committee, airport committee of the club made its recommendation, and this is a substitute motion from that. So if you're interested in supporting exactly what the committee recommended without any changes, then you would want to vote no on this. But if you wanted to see, if this is more what you're looking for, you'd want to vote yes on this. And again, if it fails, we would go back to the motion suggested by the committee. If neither the substitute motion or the main motion passes, at that point, the floor would again be open for a new motion to potentially be made. And at some point, we could call it as nothing happens if another motion.
I have a question. To pass, the ultimate measure has to pass with 55%.
Actually, because it's a motion, it only has to pass by a simple majority.
Are you talking about the substitute motion or
Either, any motion, yeah. Correct, because 55% in our bylaws refers to endorsements.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So if anyone is wondering, I saw this asked a few times in the chat, there is no ballot yet. I'm looking at, no one else is looking at this right now. I'm watching them generating the ballot right now. It's being typed into a computer. It doesn't exist. So in a few minutes, if you're watching this meeting live, just sit back, grab a drink. I'm going to interview another Senate candidate, and in a few minutes I'll say, hey, the ballot's out, and then you can vote, okay? That's the plan. Now, while we get ready to vote, we're going to turn back to the Senate race. We're joined by another candidate in the race to succeed Ben Allen. And I know that there's going to be some excitement and people moving about and chatting, but please show respect to the Senate candidate for her time, okay? She's a longtime neighborhood advocate who founded the Doheny Sunset Plaza Neighborhood Association and has championed community voices on land use, coastal protection, and public safety. She's running for state Senate to bring that local advocacy and grassroots leadership to the Capitol. Please join me in welcoming Ellen Evans.
Okay. Thanks very much, John. It's great to be here with you in front of this formidable body and to hear about this incredible opportunity that you have, and it's amazing to see so much community engagement. So I'm Ellen Evans, as you said. I'm an you didn't say, I'm an LGBTQ activist and a neighborhood leader and a mom, and I'm running for state Senate. So I want to talk first about why I'm running for state Senate. So we are in a devastatingly bad time. We've got a president who's at war with immigrants, who's at war with women, who's at war with LGBTQ people, who's at war with California. And we've got a populace which is now voting for right-wing populism and leadership from cruelty. And here in California, we like to lead with compassion. So I want to tell a story that led me to think about how to get back to leading with compassion and to convincing people that's what we want to do. I did quite a lot of canvassing in the fall. And I encountered quite a number of registered Democrats who were really, really frustrated with the Democratic Party and with what the government in general has done for them. So I want to talk about one particular instance where I knocked on someone's door. A woman about my age answered, a Southeast Asian immigrant, and I said to her, vote for Kamala, whatever. And she said, ever since I've been able to vote, I've voted Democrat, and it's gotten me nowhere. So I'm never doing it again. If Kamala Harris is elected, I'm going to starve. And so I said, well, really, the economic policies of Kamala Harris are much better than those of Donald Trump, and Donald Trump's are much more inflationary. But that was the wrong answer, because what she was saying was that we weren't delivering the goods on what matters to people. People want a roof over their heads that they can afford, that's not 50 miles from where they work. They want their children to go to school and get an education, and they don't want to have to worry about them coming home safe at night. They want parks to play in. They want, they want everything to improve. They want opportunities, and those are reasonable things. So I thought about what can I, with my skills, do about that. So now I'm going to tell you about what I've done in my life that led me to believe that I think that this Senate, for serving in the Senate, is something that I need to do to help with that problem. I'm a longtime LGBTQ activist. I came out at the dawn of the AIDS era. I became a campus activist because I did not, it was a real struggle to come out. People were dying. So I built community on campus. I built our organization. I fought against bias. I fought against discrimination. We did things like going out into the community and talking to people about being LGBTQ. We went to frat houses. We talked to all kinds of different people. And I continued that activism after college. When Ronald Reagan wouldn't even say the word AIDS, I was arrested in front of the White House with other activists. I protested against poor representations of LGBTQ people in the media because we were always murderers for a while there. And I kept fighting. Prop 8 was on the ballot. I fought against Prop 8. When Prop 8 passed, I joined the Board of Equality California Institute to make the change that needed to be made and helped lead that organization through a difficult period. And then I joined the Equality California PAC later to make sure we were electing pro-equality candidates. Now, in my neighborhood, after that, we were having, I see waving, is the ballot out?
We have it. Oh, I have to be brought over there? Okay.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to keep going. So we had some problems related to a land use decision that the city of Los Angeles had made, which was basically, I live in the hills. If you dig far enough down, you could just build whatever you wanted because the basement no longer counted. And that just meant that in my community, a Rose Bowl worth of earth was permitted to be taken out. And the number of dump trucks on hillsides was, it was very frightening, and trucks would lose control. And I happened to live down the hill from a site that was going to have something like 1,000 trucks. And I was sure that one of them, when I was backing out of my driveway to take my kids to school, was just going to come slamming into me. So it was an issue for the whole community, but we didn't have a structure. We didn't have a voice in City Hall. So we made some advances just as ad hoc group of neighbors, but then we decided we really need to have a voice. So I started this neighborhood association, which grew to cover 2,000 neighbors. And what we've done is we've worked on policy in the city, and we've listened to people, heard what they need, and delivered. So when, as far as the digging went, what we decided was it was much better to try to make our neighborhood safer by working with developers and then try to change policy in the city, so we got a construction monitoring program that developers pay for, where we have a full-time person going and making sure we have, adequate ingress and egress, and that nothing is completely out of control. And people wanted to feel safer. We started a security patrol. We've solved problems left and right. We have traffic calming measures. I've also joined Neighborhood Council, where I'm the Vice President of Legislative Affairs, so I review legislation that's in the city of Los Angeles, and we decide how to comment on it. And the reason why that's important is because I've learned how to listen to the community and the diverse voices we get about legislation and find the compromise or a path forward. And that's what I'm good at. Bringing people together, finding the path forward, knowing who to talk to move the ball. And that's what I want to bring to Sacramento to work on our key issues, which are, of course, housing affordability. I'll just list them for now.
Yeah, sure.
Housing affordability, fire safety, job training. We don't have enough building trades to build what we want. We don't have enough electricians to do the energy transition. We don't have enough mental health workers. Nurses are aging out, teachers are aging out. We need to plan, or we're going to end up in quite a situation. And I think, is that ballots out?
Someone say that?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, and then also, community safety is really important to me, because people should feel safe in their homes. There we go.
Thank you. Okay, so I want to start sort of where I left off with Brittany. So we've seen Senator Allen for a decade now. What's your assessment of how he's been as a senator? Are there areas where you're like, I would do it a little differently? What's your take?
I really admire the work he's done on the environment. I think one of the reasons why we need to be strong fiscally and solve housing is so we can continue to lead on environment and on LGBT issues and many other issues. I like the work he's done. I'm more like, let's get under the hood and see what's going on. So that would be, my focus would really be on, let's get that housing piece done. Let's plan for the future of our jobs. Let's fix fire safety.
Great. Okay. So let's hit on some of these same issues that we talked about earlier. A big issue is with regard to the federal government. Trump, ICE. How do you balance this? How are you going to be a Democrat? What kind of Democrat are you? Are you going to be fighting? Are you going to be working with the administration?
I'm the fighting kind. So, and thank you for the question. So, I think it's really important for us to continue to be a leader where we need to be a leader, and that's protecting vulnerable people. Particularly, I think of course, immigrants and trans youth and people seeking reproductive health care. It's really important that we protect those people and just stand our ground. And one of the reasons we need to be prepared financially to do what the federal government isn't doing, because I think we're going to lose a lot of important services like weather. So.
Got it. Okay, so let's dive into this housing question. And we asked earlier about this. 1.5 million low-income renters are paying over half their income on housing. How will you commit to boosting state funding for them, for renter assistance? And what's your experience with that specific type of work?
So specifically, I know how, I will. It's appalling. So we need to build more housing so that people have more housing security. That's number one. I think rental assistance is incredibly important. We don't want people falling into homelessness. And my experience is just that of somebody who knows how to bring people to the table to solve a problem.
Got it. Okay.
And there's a lot we can do.
You have worked a lot with law enforcement, grassroots safety efforts. What kind of reforms would you like to see to the criminal justice system to make it a fair system, better support reentry? And how do you interpret the election last time with Nathan Hochman defeating Gascon? What's your take on what that means from the voters?
Yes, thank you for the question. I think I come from a neighborhood where pretty much, I'm sure Nathan Hochman won. I think people want to feel like when somebody does something, they get punished, and I don't think that's how it's working right now. I think our prison system is the place where we warehouse people with mental health issues, and I think the most important thing is to increase the number of mental health workers we have to address those issues. And in terms of criminal justice, we just can never go back to the carceral state that we've had.
Got it. Okay. And thinking about healthcare, and single-payer healthcare is a big issue for our club. We've always endorsed it. Like I said to Brittany, is that something you support?
Yeah, I mean, single-payer healthcare is a great way to have a healthcare system that actually works for your health and isn't motivated by profit. I think we're far from getting there, but if we get close, I would support it.
What do you think of as what's stopped us from being able to do it up until now?
I think until now, it probably should have been done already. There were opportunities to do it, but right now, right now we have a very severe budget crisis, and I think that impacts the ability to deliver on that. So we have to look for the next opportunity and take it, because that's what I want to do, look for the opportunities and take them.
Great. Okay, so Santa Monica is on the front lines for climate change. We talked about the wildfires from earlier this year. What infrastructure or environmental policies would you prioritize to advance renewable energy, strengthen resilience, and combat this threat?
Yeah, thanks for that. It's really important.
Yeah.
I mean, critically important to do that. Thinking about what we can do that's within budgetary means and what will have a high impact. I think we can definitely take action on methane reduction. I know that we have some methane reduction bills about leaking wells. I don't think we have strong enough standards and not enough checkpoints. So California is terrible at enforcement. I think if we enforce those, we can make a big dent. Also, I don't know if people are generally aware of this, but our grid is extremely out of date. A huge number of our grid components are over 40 years old, and we need to make the system safer from fire, and we need to upgrade it. And the parts to do so aren't available. So I think it would be a great idea if California started a public-private initiative to bring a grid parts manufacturer to California to make the parts, use them here, and sell them to other places.
Okay. Thinking about California's public schools, deep disparities between outcomes. How do you ensure that schools in underserved communities in our district receive the necessary resources to close the achievement gap?
Yeah, education is the backbone of opportunity, and we need to fund it. I was just talking to somebody today about how completely underfunded our schools are, and schools on the west side kind of get by because they have booster clubs, and schools that aren't on the west side don't get by. And she was telling me, particularly, I don't know if you know this, I learn new things all the time. There's a dinginess standard. So they've decided that basically the schools can be pretty dingy because that's what they want to pay for it. I don't think we want dingy schools. I think we want well-funded schools with well-paid employees who can afford to live near the school, who don't have to pay out of pocket for supplies for their kids. That's
Okay. So thinking about budgeting, huge issue for the legislature, obviously. Our city council just passed a 4-3 budget last night. What services for vulnerable Californians are non-negotiable in your view? How do you find progressive revenue streams to pay for things that other parts of the legislature are going to be trying to cut?
I mean, I think we have to be providing healthcare, we have to be providing education. I'm sure I'm going to miss things. I think the revenue stream can come from workforce development, providing better jobs for people, and elevating the revenue. I also think it's not out of bounds for housing to be paid for with bond measure, and I think we're getting one on the ballot soon.
Cool, okay, well, why don't we wrap up and just let us know what I missed. What should they know about your campaign that I didn't ask about?
Well, first of all, I have an open door, so I'm not attached to my particular ideas. I want to hear your ideas always. So I hope that you'll tell me what you think and that we move along that way, and that's what you can expect from Senator Evans.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have until 9:40 for this vote. I think probably a lot of people got their ballots in, but I'm sure those last few are being dealt with in the back. Sam, you want to come up and say hi? So folks may remember from a couple election cycles back, Samantha Mota ran for Santa Monica City Council, and she's now going to tell us about another race she's running for, and it's a race that our club doesn't endorse in, so don't take this as an endorsement, but we are happy to hear about our club members and what they're doing and stuff, so we want to hear about Sam's next adventure.
Thank you. Hello, Santa Monica Democratic Club and community members. My name is Samantha Mota, and I'm running for the 37th District of California. I'm running because we desperately need representation and leadership. Less than 2% of our state legislators come from working class backgrounds, according to Politics of Parenthood 2024 by Vote Mama Foundation. At all levels of government, the people have remained underrepresented and underserved. That's why I'm running. To heal the abandonment and betrayal left behind by our elected officials, and to restore participation and trust in our government. As a youth, I advocated for AB 551 to be incorporated into Santa Monica zoning ordinances, which allows private vacant lots to be utilized for urban agriculture and animal husbandry purposes as a means to reclaim community spaces, beautify our neighborhood. Sorry, I had to memorize this. And raise awareness about the need to restore and reform environmental legislation and policies. Thank you. For too long, our so-called leaders have remained silent, complacent, and compromised to the issues that have affected all of us, like healthcare, immigration, rethinking and reforming democracy, and economic security. As your next California representative, I plan to legislate a national paid family leave policy, increase corporate tax rates, possibly back to 35%, because Trump dropped them, and finally create a national health institute system. It's too long. Our youth are crying for help, and I think that's the problem that the Democratic Party faces. They're too busy trying to figure out how they lost the House, the Senate, the presidency, and the youth vote. And the problem is because we've been shut out of the conversation. We've been shut out of these locations, and we desperately need representation. And I hope along the way I can gain your support, whether it be sharing or anything, because we need the voice of the working class people in Congress and everywhere in our communities. Thank you.
So we're pleased to hear from Sam and her mentor Chris. When I first met Sam was in the community garden, and okay, so we have some time until this vote is done. Let's see. If anybody have any announcements you want to make while we're waiting? Okay, well, Jerry Rubin.
I just want to say I really appreciate all three of the candidates that came. They all spoke very well, and I think you all were very, very, very good. Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you, Jerry. Okay, so... Isabel, did you? Okay, yeah. So Isabel's got something to share. She'll come up. And I see that we're doing pretty good on the votes back there. I see 210 votes are in already. Okay. You're good. Okay. Our legislative VP, Isabel Story, ladies and gentlemen.
Hi, I'm Legislative VP. I'm also on the ad hoc committee we have for community action, which Lynn Servini is very instrumental in, and probably more than I am. But at every meeting, we have these red cards out, and I have some there. You can take them. But these are Know Your Rights cards. And you can, use them. Oh, he has some also. And so that with all these ICE raids going on, we know it's really bad right now in Los Angeles. I mean, okay, I don't even have to describe. I mean, we've got the military and the Homeland Security and the vigilantes and all these people who we don't even know who they are, who are masked and without identifying themselves, nabbing people off the streets. So these cards let people know what their rights are when they're confronted in these situations. One side is in English, one side is in Spanish. I also wanted to let you know, I found out recently that there is an organization that supports day laborers, the National Day Laborer Organizing Network. And I have been, some people are familiar with them. So they are organizing community groups to go out to some of these targeted locations like Home Depots and places like that, and just be watchful community members to document what's going on and otherwise be supportive of the day laborers. So if you're at all interested in helping in this situation, I would look at their website, and there are things you can do. There's a program called Adopt a Corner where you just kind of help the people at that corner. And I can also tell you about if you spot any of these kidnappers, there's a Los Angeles County has a rapid response network. I put this with the number on it over there, but I'll read out the phone number for this hotline, 888-624. Okay, I'll say it again after I'm done. 4752. So I'm going to say this is the hotline. I have this number in my phone. So if I spot anything, like these cars driving up and the masked people running out, if you spot it, just call this hotline. They have people who can respond. So this hotline is 888-624-4752. And I'll leave this over at the table there in case you missed that number. You just want to take a picture of this. But anyway, I have this in my phone, ready to go. If I see anything, I can call the hotline. They have rapid responders, and they also can provide legal help to anyone who's taken away. And on here, I also have the number for it. It's called the Immigrant Defenders Law Center. And I'm not going to read out their information. I'll put it over there. But they have legal resources for LA and surrounding counties for anyone who's detained. They will provide legal support. So there are organizations out there helping and community members helping, and we'll just do what we can. Yeah, you have something you want to say there? Oh, yeah. John, can we send this like in an email or something? Or okay, we'll send it out.
Thank you. Yes, I just saw a video here in West LA of Proud Boys that are dressing like eyes, covering their faces, and taking women down. These are not, so we have to do something about that because of people are impersonating ICE employees to.
Well, that is the problem now because they're not identifying themselves. We have no way of knowing, is this a real federal agent or is it just someone masquerading as that? Is it just a kidnapper? Is it just a robber who's, using that as an excuse? Or there are also, rumors, bounty hunters, that people who don't really have any official training, but they're just getting, bounty hunters. So we don't know. I will say on the legislative side, there are some laws that have just been introduced, and I think they're going to be moved through quickly. There's one, the No Vigilante Act, which will require any law enforcement to be unmasked and identify themselves in California. So that was put out by Senator Weiner. There's some other there are some other legislators who are co-sponsoring that. And actually, John, even though it didn't go through the committee, I mean, since we have, can we just vote whether to endorse that?
To endorse what?
The No Vigilante Act by Senator Weiner.
It's up to you as the chair of the
Yeah,
committee.
yeah. I actually,
But has it been
since.
When,
What?
when is the vote?
This was just introduced. Senator Weiner just introduced it through an emergency procedure. But I think it would be great for, I was going to bring it up to our club, but I think it's SB 627.
Okay, sure.
Why not? Why not? Let's just do it. Okay, so we have a normal process for legislation that goes through the committee and the board and then the membership. But because of the nature of this one was introduced in the legislature outside of the normal process, because actually the deadline for bills was over a month ago. But what they did was, it's a little technical, they call it a gut and amend. They took a bill that was introduced before and they just eviscerated it and put this bill in its place. So this is called No Secret Police Act, introduced by Senators Scott Weiner and Jesse Erequin in Berkeley, and I think our local Assembly member Sasha Perez has also now a co-author. But the bill prohibits law enforcement at all levels from covering their faces while conducting operations in California, requires them to identify with their uniform, their name, or another identifier. So I think I would just like to take a vote now, and would this club like to endorse this bill? Yes. Raise your hands if you're a yes.
Okay. Let's do this. Everyone who wants to vote yes,
Yeah.
raise your hand. We have to count it.
We have to count, even if it's, okay.
46 plus
46, yeah, I get about 46.
46.
Oh, I'll vote
plus
for it,
24.
47.
So that puts it at 70. Everyone lower your hands.
Lower your hands.
We have this is just for the minutes.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. All opposed? Everyone online, lower your hands. Any opposed? Okay. Any abstention? Okay, passes unanimously.
Well, thank you. I love doing this quick. And as a result of this, I will be sending a letter on behalf of the club to our California legislature telling them that we urge them to support this bill.
Thank you, Isabel. Getting down to the final minute. This is literally the last minute. Let's see what happens, and we'll reveal the results live. Yeah?
Joe, there are many organizations that are getting together, cities that are getting together to support people that are hiding in their homes who are afraid to go out to work or go out to the grocery store. I'm wondering if there is anyone that knows anything about such an organization in Santa Monica that we could support.
Hang on, Lynn has an answer for you, I think. And Lynn, can you come to the mic?
Okay, the Know the Rights Committee, that is the Democratic Club in Ocean Park, we meet and we just discussed how we can help people with getting groceries to them. And so we're in the process of setting up that plan. And we're working with Irma from the Virginia Park, and we want to get her involved in this because we want to make sure that the people that are doing it are trusted people. So we have to be very careful. But we're in the process of doing just what you just said. Okay? Oh, and there's a protest tomorrow at 7 o'clock at Palisades Park, by Palisades and Ocean, Palisades Boulevard. Did anybody hear about this? It's through the, Isabel, what did I tell you?
Hang on a second. With respect, we're going to pause and come back to it because we have the results of the ballot. Okay? To add in? Okay, we'll handle that, but we're going to look at the, is that okay? Temporary results, 155 no and 61 yes, and you have a few to add in? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so we have the full now number 65 yes, 155 no. And if you're wondering why it's not reflecting the exact number up there, because we're so committed to making sure that we count every vote, I'm seeing here there's a couple of people who we couldn't get their email work, and so this is, we counted their vote. That's the point of doing this. So the substitute motion has failed, so we'll now go back to the main motion. And let me bring that back up. So I believe this is it. This is the main motion that we're going to vote on next. Yep, and we will read it in Spanish in a moment, but I'll read it in English first. The Santa Monica Democratic Club recommends to Santa Monica City Council, for the benefit of all, the creation of an inspirational LC-compliant great park that would not trigger a ballot measure before airport closure, with financing that prioritizes existing on-site revenue sources, with no sale or other privatization of the land. Sylvie? Sylvie's going to read it in Spanish. Yes. Nate, is it on?
Check?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, great. I'll say it with a funny accent, but I'll try. Para el beneficio de todos, la creación de un gran parque inspirador que cumpla con la LC y que no desencadene una medida electoral antes del cierre del aeropuerto, con financiamiento que priorice las fuentes de ingresos existentes en el sitio y sin venta o otra privatización del terreno.
Gracias. Okay, so election crew, do you have the language you need for the second ballot? So it's just getting it set? Okay, great. And since we won't have the same ballot issues, should we have a shorter voting window for this one? Okay, so I mean, I think obviously we all want that, but I want to make sure we're fair to everybody. So I'm just putting it out there to everyone listening that we'll do a 15-minute vote, if that's okay with everybody. And if anyone objects, please say so now so we can discuss it. But the plan will be a 15-minute voting window for the second round, okay? And did you guys get that, Sean? Okay, cool. Oh, right. Okay, a piece of paper has been handed to me, Isabel. So our bylaws say we have to notice an endorsement of a legislation by 10 days. So the vote we took was advisory. It will be something that we can then ratify at the next meeting in July. But, well, yeah.
Under Robert's rules, we can suspend the rules with a simple majority vote, and we can endorse today.
I don't think we can really do that. I appreciate. I have to look into the why, but I know that there's an issue with suspending the rules, and it also opens up a tough precedent that I think we have taken an advisory position, so we know where the club stands. We will ratify it at the next meeting, but it's more of a technicality. But I think we should respect the bylaws that were written, that were designed to contemplate a situation exactly like this. So I think that's the right way to go. Okay, well, while we're waiting, I'll see some hands up, so I'll call on and see what people have to say. Let's go to the callers. Sarah, you're on the line.
I am cool. It's not Janice first. I just wanted to say that if people in the chat, if you didn't get your ballots last time, you should email membership at smdems.com, or John, you should read that out to people, please.
Yeah, it's membership@smdems.com is the email address if you don't get your ballot, and beyond tonight if you have a membership question. That's the best place to go. Next up, Janice. Janice, you're on the air.
Hi, John. I vaguely remember that when there were
things that happened emergently that needed to be responded to in terms of endorsements, that there was a way to do an e-vote. That might have been, I suppose, to get the board to act, and the board could take a vote to send something out on behalf of the club. And I'm afraid that we are living in times when there may be many emergent situations that we need to be prepared to respond to.
We've done that. We've done that plenty of times. This is what we'll do this time, especially with the membership advisory. Totally covers that. But yeah, well, we usually do.
Yeah, I can respond to that. We have to.
Why don't you just because you can't, if you respond to Janice, but she can't hear you if you don't have the mic.
Yeah, Janice, thanks for bringing it up. That is what I'm planning to do because of what just happened. I can take an email vote of the legislative committee and an email vote of the board. And if those go forward, I'll be able to send a letter to the legislature. It'll just be on behalf of the board, but, still it'll be from our club. And then at the next meeting, we can ratify it by the whole club.
Yeah, that's the procedure I remember. Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody else? Sure. At this point, we're in open Q&A mode. So, Chris, but you got to take a mic.
This is for Jenny.
Sure, Isabel.
Jenny?
Or for Isabel?
Isabel, sorry. Jenny.
Back up.
Sorry, you look like a Jenny. My understanding is, as wonderful as that legislation is, it will not apply to federal authorities. So we need to double check on that just so we all understand what it is. That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, who's next? Anybody have any thoughts they want to share? Maybe we could hear about your experience at No Kings. Sure. Okay. Isabella, another new name for you tonight.
Isabel. Oh, not, okay, sorry.
Not Isabel.
I heard it a lot. The card. You're an expert, so I figured I could get this question answered. Well, okay. So the person tells an agent, say, I refuse to talk to you, etc. Can the agent detain the person without they're pulling them off the street, and I don't understand where they have probable cause to do that. I mean, there's no warrant for that particular person. So what is happening with that? And when they go to court, do they get any relief, or are they already in the system, kind of?
Well, my opinion is, and I think what other people are saying is that this is illegal. That what they're doing is illegal. They, we're taught in all these classes and workshops that, know your rights, that they need to have a warrant signed by a judge with the person's name on it in order to detain them. They're not doing that.
If somebody is obviously, or seems to be, there's probable cause, like, somebody punches somebody else or breaks a window, the police are allowed to arrest that person without a warrant.
Well, yeah, there we're not talking about immigration enforcement. We're talking about law enforcement.
Basically, are the feds saying that somebody, they give probable cause because somebody won't answer questions and looks foreign? That's foreign accent. Are they saying that that's giving them a problem?
No, you can do that. I don't think, in some cases, they're just picking up people who are just walking down the street, or who are just standing somewhere and not doing anything.
Hey guys, ballot's out.
Oh, the ballot is out. You may vote.
You may vote.
I think what they're doing is illegal, so,
Right.
we're in a situation where what do we do about it? And then Lynn is going to tell you about the event tomorrow.
I misspoke. The address is actually Ocean Avenue, 673 Ocean Avenue and Palisades Park. And it's between Alta Avenue and Palisades Avenue. And it's Disappeared in America Visual Action. It's by that group. If you could look them up at hashtag Disappeared in America. So, in case anybody wants.
But it's 2 steps, the vote and then submit.
Sure, yeah. I mean, when you'll get your ballot, you'll get your email. So I got my email. It says vote now. I think that's the subject line, right? Comes from Santa Monica Democratic Club. It says vote now, Santa Monica Democratic Club, so forth. It says to vote, visit, and then there's a link. When you click the link, try that again. When you click the link, okay, when you click the link, it will take you to the ballot on electionbuddy.com. You'll see this one's off. No, this one's off. It's all good. It's mute Alan Levinson and we, Anyway, yeah, so you'll see the question come up. You'll see a yes or no, an abstain. You'll vote. Then you're right. It comes up on a second page. And it says, just confirming this is your ballot. Because if you envision like a longer endorsement thing, you're going to want to look and see you got all the names right, that you mentioned, that it's the correct thing. Same, by the way, if you go vote in person at the vote center, it does that too. It spits out your thing to confirm. So yeah, you have to hit submit, and then it gets counted, and let's see. We're already at 170, so people are seemingly getting the message. Let's see. Sarah, hand up again.
Sorry. Yeah, if we're killing time, I would make a comment about the SB 627 of Isabel's and the illustrious Senator Wiener's use of his turned down bills to the gut amend. He did 2 of them. One's with Senator Arreguin, and one's with Senator Perez. They're both similar sort of attempts to address the lawlessness on our streets. So one is SB 627, that's with Arreguin, and another is SB 805, that's with Sasha Perez. One is the no secret police, and the other is that you're not allowed to. So one is for like no masks, and one is don't impersonate a police officer. So Isabel, maybe when you're looking into that, you might want to look into the other one too.
Thanks. Well, we'll keep Isabel on her toes to make sure we're tracking everything.
Right, because she doesn't have enough to do.
Okay, we have 9 minutes until this ballot closes. 9 minutes. Anybody want to share a poem? A poem?
Since retiring, I donate a couple of days a week. I will deliver.
Here. Yeah, but it's the people at home can't hear it all unless you have. Yeah.
So since retiring a couple of years ago, I know I look young for my age, I do deliveries in the morning for Meals on Wheels West, which involves a lot of people here in Santa Monica, but also it was in the Palisades in Malibu, and some down in Marina del Rey and Venice. And they are always in need of people who would like to come. You don't have to commit to every day of the week. You don't even have to commit to 1 day a week. You can say 1 day a month. They deliver meals on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And if you just come in, they give you a route. It's about 12 people, and you bring them their breakfast and lunch every day. And to me, it's been very fulfilling to meet with these people, talk with them, get to know them. I mostly do substitutes, so I don't do the same routes all the time. But if you have any free time in the morning, it's a very worthwhile organization, and I'd love to see more people support it. They're constantly asking for volunteers.
Jerry's got something else to share. Sure. Hey, Jerry, here.
Just another gratitude thing that we should all really thank the church in Ocean Park, Reverend Janet McKitchen, for making this space available for the community, so many people, and to support them. Really good.
Sure, Elizabeth, come on. Here. You can come up. Come on, Zoe, you'll be there.
Come on, everybody has to do their thing. Hi, I'm Elizabeth. I'm the chair of Wilmont. It's good to see everybody. Hey, we're trying to have like a whole summer program, so we're on our last yoga meeting this coming Saturday at Reed Park in the grassy area, 8 to 9. Hey guys, come on. Come on, I get to do my announcements now. And after that, I found a Tai Chi guy who's going to come in July. So every Saturday in Reed Park, we're having the Grand Master come from 8 to 9 o'clock in the grassy area. You don't have to wear like spiffy clothes. You just show up in whatever you wear, Jerry. And, you know, it's going to be great. So 8 to 9, Saturdays, July, Reed Park. Please join us. We would love to have you. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Isabel, I don't know if you guys discussed SB 42 at the club. This is a bill for California Fair Elections Act of 2026. So we're going to have public funds for candidates that are running for office. And I bring this to your attention because New York Mayor election, you know, and that was his campaign, and he raised $8 million, and he was the first one to raise the money, and he defeated, you know, an established politician. So when City Council voted to increase the spending at the last February 25th City Council meeting, I spoke against it because I knew that this was coming, and it was not necessary to increase the spending in Santa Monica because we were going to have this. So look it up. It's SB 42 in California. So we're going to finally have sponsoring candidates with public funds.
We endorsed it. There you go.
Okay, that's why I asked you at the beginning. Thank you.
You got to check. It's a long list of endorsed bills. It's hard to keep track of all of them. That's why we have Isabel and the excellent committee.
That's why I didn't want City Council to erase it, back in February, because this was coming.
All right, Cindy, what do you got?
Hi, everybody. I would normally be at the meeting, but I'm sick right now. I want to first say thank you to John. I think he's done a tremendous job, both subcommittee. And then I have a few other things I want to say that are based on some of the discussions earlier. There's a Facebook group called Santa Monica Ask, Borrow, Give. And I've been a member of this group for a number of years. And it's a no money exchange group where people help each other. Basically, I call it a loving community. So if somebody needs something, they ask. If they want to borrow something, they ask. Or if somebody has things to give, they offer them. And recently within that group, there has been a discussion about helping people who are home and afraid. And so that is another resource group, which some of you may be members or you could join. But that's a group that's going to be helping community members within that group. So I just want to say that. Also, I had the opportunity to go to Germany recently. And when I was in Berlin, I visited Tempelhof Airport. Some of you saw my comments in the chat. Tempelhof was an important airport. It's now a park. It's huge. And I spent a couple hours walking through it. And I saw a lot of things. It's flat. It's not very developed. It surprised me actually how undeveloped it was. But I saw there's a dog park. There's a barbecue area. There were skaters. There were runners. There were walkers. There were bikers. There were people just hanging out. There was an area with children doing art. There was an area that was sort of like miniature golf. I mean, there was just a lot of different things happening. And I also went to another park in Berlin, which had a Sunday flea market, which drew in a lot of people. There were food carts, but also it's known for its 3 p.m. on Sunday karaoke in an amphitheater there, which was a whole lot of fun with people. Anybody could do it. There was 2 women from Wales. There was a guy singing in German, I Do It My Way, which was hilarious. So these were people, and I spoke to people, took a lot of photographs, and these parks are viewed as essential to the people there. They wouldn't have it any other way. And I wish we had that attitude about parks in the same way that they have it there. Also, and this will be the last thing I have to say, I went to the No Kings protest in Berlin. So it was really sort of fun. If I'd been here, I would have been at the No Kings protest in Santa Monica for sure. But the one in Berlin was interesting. It was spirited. There was a lot of singing. Again, I took photographs, videos, a lot of signage, some very creative signage related to Germany's dark past, including, a sign that said, we know fascism when we see it, and things like that. So these protests happened all over the world. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, it was a really beautiful thing to see, and the numbers around the country or around the world, I should say, were really remarkable. Now, the number in Santa Monica has been a little bit disputed, but some people have been saying 8,000, but I haven't heard anything lower than like 4,000. So it's somewhere in that range. Really, whatever it is in that range is the largest protest in Santa Monica that I know about. So. Now, we heard from Michelle earlier, there were 2 other organizers of the protest, Leslie and Lisa, who couldn't make it tonight. They're going to join us next month. Why stop talking about this beautiful protest that happened? We'll hear from them, their perspective on organizing it and everything. Okay, final seconds. We have 200 ballots. I'm glad, some people in the chat were saying adjourn. 1 vote came in the last few minutes, so wasn't it worth it? Okay. Okay, here we go. We can do the results now, and I saw from our team in the back that there was 3 additional no votes on top of the digital one, so we'll keep that in mind. What's going on? The big moment, and hold on a second. Let me try to reset it. Okay, I got it. I was clicking that tab and it wasn't. Okay, we're okay. The computer's getting tired. Here's our result. 156 voting in the affirmative and 45 voting in the negative. So we have our recommendation. So I want to just take a moment before we adjourn to thank everybody who participated in this committee process. I said on the first day of the committee that a lot of us would end up feeling disappointed by the result, and we understand that's the case for a lot of people, but we really appreciate all the work that everybody did, all the arguments, counter-arguments, and now we're going to proceed with advocacy that this club always does around this issue. So we will reach out to membership about how we can get more involved in that, but the City Council is going to take it up on July 8th, so that'll be the first opportunity. Folks, July 4th parade, we're going to march. Everybody come join us. July 30th, back here, next meeting. Thank you all so much. We are adjourned.